Today on the pod, we're talking to Joan, a method actor and Scratchers enthusiast. So, Joan, what do you like about playing Scratchers?
Well, as a method actor, it's about becoming the ticket. Scratching up, down, stage left, stage right.
So what's your motivation? Because your performance feels so real.
Oh, I was just tapping into my inner Scratchers.
Incredible.
Yes. Bravo me.
Scratchers from the California Lottery. A little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase player claim.
And I want to thank everybody who stopped by the Boise Music Festival, our little booth there in the cold, the wet. And yesterday I was feeling pretty bad. I don't know if any of you else were feeling bad. Maybe your immune system is young and vibrant and dynamic, or it's old and reliable and much better than mine. But yesterday was a day that I didn't know if I would be able to make it today. You're going to go, well, Kevin, what happened to you on Friday? Friday? Just because of the issues involving the signal and everything else and having to, work again, I took the day. It's funny. 20 years ago, they'd say, oh, you're slacking. Today, we call that a mental health day. So I needed a break because I was no use to you, not feeling up to par. And it's, a lot of people will say, well, Kevin, what I don't like is when people start positioning me. And when people start positioning me, that positions the show in a certain light. And the show is never an agenda-driven show. The agenda that we have is to be the best outlet for everyone, to reflect the views, the values of traditional America, to listen to dissent, and to have a dialogue. And for those that disagree with us, and when people start positioning this program, it puts it into a hole, and then it makes it easier for others to attack. And gosh knows, this program has been attacked more than anybody else. And I put the criticism of this program, even in Boise, Idaho, amongst, I'd rank it high nationally. It's just one of those things. It's funny, I was thinking about this over the weekend. On one hand, the beauty of this program is we have the real people speaking the real news, the real truth. And we don't kiss up to the tax and spend mayors, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, because it seems like we have a bunch of tax and spend mayors. Reading over the weekend as we first Boise, now Meridian, seeking to raise taxes. Ada County commissioners, they're seeking to raise taxes. I'm sure we can have a dialogue with the commissioners. I like the commissioners. Do I agree with them? Did I agree with them on the soccer team? No, but they're always willing to go back and forth with us. The guy in Meridian, he's no Tammy DeVere, but he was her chief of staff, her handpicked successor, and he's going to raise your taxes, which is too bad because you take a look at it and you see all the folks that are making money, and that would be the developers, and are they paying their fair share? Probably, most likely not. They would argue that they are. And yet we continue to have groundbreaking and more overwhelming of roads. It's still the best place to live, but as I said before, and people call in and yell and scream, but there is no accountability until you yourself, like the Tea Party, hold them accountable. And you're going to go, Kevin, I'd rather go to the lake. I understand that. And if you are going to go to the lake, then you're going to have higher taxes. And then we have the people that they didn't like the Gang of Eight people. And I'm still not really familiar with that, but, were they associated with the Idaho Freedom Foundation? I guess, and the Idaho Freedom Foundation, which used to be the arm of the Republican Party, then they had a falling out, so now they're not. They're disavowed. We're not really down with the purity test people. In fact, I had somebody over the weekend, as I was doing not like Bo, who does real workouts, my pretend workouts, somebody reached out to me and said, hey, Kevin, we'd like you to appear at this place. And I go, well, Ada County asked me to appear at their election forums and to host their forums. I could say this now that it's over. And I said no, so they went with their second or third choices, which is great. It's always good to have second or look, I've been a second or third choice my whole life. And when you have those people and, they're going to pretend to be politicians, so be it. But I didn't feel that me being involved in anything local politically would worthwhile. So I talked to this group and they said, Kevin, we really want you to be there. Look, the message that we have is the message of Ronald Reagan and Pat Buchanan and perhaps Donald Trump, whom we defend. And apparently that's not really good enough for a lot of people, and that's fine. This program has always been about the folks. And I suppose the reason why I'm starting off with this is I really had such humble, incredible feedback by so many of you that stopped by. Yes, we had Ray Jr. who said, Kevin, I need to help you a little. And I said, well, thank you, Ray Jr. And then we had Shane, and I got to meet Shane's kids, and just a remarkable young man that talked about how much he grew up on this show. And I just was so overly humbled. And maybe Shane's not up yet. Shane is going to be the VIP of the show because he really, really was an example of what we're trying to do, is to be there as that shining city on the hill, albeit a bumpy road to the shining city, but truly the shining city on the hill. And that's what we try to do, especially to the folks that never knew Reagan, especially to the folks that, are looking for a way here. Like I said, it's, you have and we'll have a lot of craziness going on. And this will be one of the most checked out weeks of the year for the next 2 weeks. We're not going to get a lot of calls. We're not going to get a lot of interaction. Hopefully my voice will come back. Again, nothing to worry about. This is what happens. And this is what real men like Lejo and others deal with every day: the elements, the weather. When they're out there and it gets cold and it's wet, but they have a job to do and they do it. So please, again, I apologize for the voice, but we're going to make this through. And don't feel sorry for me. This is what I signed up for, and we roll on. Let's take a look at the beauty of America, because we have a lot of people that are ripping America. We have people going back to race and, dividing us along race and saying that race is, this, that, and the other, and the administration is race and all these other crazy things. It's just really, really wild when you think about people that are using the 250th anniversary to rip the United States of America. And then we have, Mondami and everything else talking about we're going to have freedom for everyone and tax the rich and take everything down. And you're thinking to yourself, I don't really know if that's what the Founding Fathers had in mind, a democratic socialist. Here is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, wondering, like we all are, what is Congress really doing? Let's get to him. Let's get to him now, and then we'll expand on it. By the way, you're always welcome to join us at 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
Governance has been a tremendous success, and the reason is because we're built upon these very firm foundations. This didn't happen by happenstance. It's because the founders studied and prayed and put together a matchless constitution, a system of government that followed, frankly, the admonitions of Scripture. The great statesman G.K. Chesterton once observed from Great Britain that America is the only nation in the world that was founded upon a creed, and he said it's listed with almost theological lucidity or clarity in the Declaration of Independence, which we celebrate this week. What is the creed? We hold these truths to be self-evident, the founder said. And what is a self-evident truth? It's something that's obvious. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. It doesn't say born equal, it says created equal, and that it is God, not the government, who gives us our inalienable rights. That foundational truth is what built America. It was the foundation of all of it, and is what we still celebrate and are fighting every day right now to preserve.
Yes.
He's so right about that. And I remember years ago, and if you ever are feeling down about yourself, down about conservatism, go to YouTube and type in Alan Keyes. And our friend David Ripley, Idaho Chooses Life, David Ripley, who said, Kevin Miller, I'm going to bring in Alan Keyes. Kevin Miller, do you know who Alan Keyes is? And I go, oh, David, I know Alan Keyes. I know Alan Keyes big time. And Alan Keyes was the United Nations ambassador for Ronald Reagan. And he was talking about, and he had this very unique voice. And I go, hey, Alan, and I was a baby host at the time, almost 32 years ago. And I loved being a baby host in New Hampshire. Because in New Hampshire, it was before the internet, it was before everything else. radio was at the centerpiece. At a 1,000-watt radio station, you could rule the world, and I will always be grateful for Ed Lecious, Woody Woodland, the board at WMVU for putting a guy on, and they were all liberals, but putting on this unknown commodity who had a big mouth and a small throat, Kevin Miller, and letting me host this show for free. It, as we get older, sometimes our faith is questioned. And it was the Lord that let me live my dream. There's no other way I've survived this long. I've certainly survived here without the grace of God. But I would interview Alan Keyes, and a lot of these guys, they couldn't get a lot of media attention. And Alan would come on, B1 Bob Dornan would come on, Pat, I chased Pat Buchanan all the time, and I can remember being in an elevator with Pat, and I go, well, this is going to air during your speech. Hell, fella, why don't you carry it live? Because I can't. Okay, little boy, pat me on the head. Not really, but Alan Keyes, and I can remember, and I'd go, and I'd ask these very rudimentary, raw questions, which I still do today. Alan, what about the gays? Because this is way before everything else. This is when civil unions, he goes, Kevin Miller, can I help? I can't do it too much because my voice is shot. Can I do it too? Can I help being black? Look at me. I'm a black man. You're a white man. And but you can control social behavior. And he would just go on and on and on. And you ever hang out with people that are just so brilliantly, charismatically smart? It was just a wild thing to be a part of. So if you're ever down, take a look at Alan Keyes' stuff on YouTube. Amazing. And it was such a blessing to see him here in Boise, actually in Eagle, Idaho. Let's go to more of Speaker Mike Johnson saying, what is Congress doing? And this is my point. Whether it's by our own incompetency or the Democrats have gotten lucky, we have not taken advantage of 2 years of Donald Trump, of President Trump. We've had the government shutdown. We've had now another 2 weeks of the House being off. Well, Kevin, that's the calendar. The House can change that calendar, I believe. We have the Save America Act that the House has passed. Usually we have trouble in the House, and the Senate is much more reliable. Well, that's not the case this time. And the President of the United States has decided to once again throw down the gauntlet. And people can say that the president has not succeeded here, there, or anywhere. But unlike anybody else, he is willing to try. And now, as people say, his powers are weakening. He's using all those powers to pressure the country into passing the Save America Act, which, in other words, it's up to our people in the Senate. Let's take a listen.
We have, and the president and I laughed about it in the Oval last week. I told him, you know, Mr. President, I don't have any tattoos, but if I did, it'd say Save America on my shoulder, okay? We passed it 3 times in the House already. We're going to pass it again, and this time we're going to try to put it on a reconciliation bill, and the reason that's so important, Maria, as you know, is it prevents the necessity of 60 votes in the Senate. The Democrats want no part of this. And remember, this is very basic stuff. We're just going to make sure you have to have proof of citizenship to register to vote, and then show an ID when you turn out at the ballot box. These are 90-10 public opinion issues, and more than 70% of Democrats want to do it, but not the Democrats in the House and Senate. And so we've got to go around them. And I told Anna Paulina Luna and a couple other colleagues, I said, it makes no sense for us to shut down our good work in the House just because Senate Democrats refuse to do the people's will. We've got a lot more to do. We've got to keep it going.
We got to keep it going. Let's hope that we can. And let's hope that we continue to press this. And I love the Speaker of the House. I know this will mess up the sideways kid because he didn't have a good relationship. I thought McCarthy was perfect for the House, but he had to go. And I can remember the sideways kid would go to, I believe it was Bakersfield, where he used to live before he moved to an undisclosed location in Idaho. And he would try to get a hold of McCarthy, and McCarthy's office would never answer. But McCarthy had a great experience with Idaho. And, you know, through Congressman Fulcher, when we lost that, we lost a little of it. By the way, over the weekend in Sun Valley, a lot of conservatives showed up. One notably, Scott Jennings of CNN. I don't know if you caught that on Twitter, but Mr. Jennings was riding a horse riding a horse and saying, "Hello, Idaho." I really meant to talk about this, but Sun Valley, of course, Allen and Company is coming up. But there was a ton of conservatives meeting in Sun Valley for some special conference. I believe that was this weekend. I'll check that during the break. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 580 KIDO. And you've got, speaking today, the governor. You've got, Sean Reagan, the research fellow of the Manhattan Institute. Raheem Salam, you might catch him on Meet the Press a lot. Really smart dude. He's in Sun Valley. Scott Jennings, that we talked about, he's been there over the weekend. And Lord Andrew Roberts, they're all in Sun Valley. Coming up tomorrow, David Petraeus. I'm trying to think. A lot of people from the Manhattan Institute. I guess they're at the Sun Valley Lodge before Allen and Company. You've got Brandon Beach, the Treasurer of the United States. Didn't think he was the Treasurer anymore. Anyway, day 3, Michael Knowles, Aaron With, and Heather McDonald. A lot of people from the Manhattan Institute. So they sprinkle this in again and again and again. They've had Charlie Kirk there in the past. Liberal Steve's favorite guy, Gordon Chang, Victor David Hanson. So a lot of people are going to Sun Valley, not just the big money people, but the others. By the way, if our friend Nancy is awake, Nancy, great to see you at the Albertsons and Star. She enjoys our dialogue with Tea Party Bob, and she says, "Give him a smack, Kevin Miller." Well, we like smacking him. Also, do want to thank Shane for stopping by, Eric for saying hello to us on Twitter, Ray Jr. as well. A great day. Thank you for everyone who showed up at the Boise Music Festival, possibly the biggest one ever. And I got to tell you, our boys Everclear, I don't know, too much swearing, everybody. Way too much swearing. Bad Everclear. Bad. So it was wonderful to be able to introduce them. And then I left, but apparently Sean Paul was insanely good. And then this guy Marshmallow coming in with his own security and getting a police escort, big time. So we had Mike Pompeo as well. He showed up there in the past. One person who won't be in Sun Valley, and that is Al in Ontario. Al, what's the latest? What do you do in Ontario? Do you hang out with all the boys, or do you sing in the Navy or the YMCA? What goes on in Ontario?
I think you have a predilection to gay ideation, Kevin. So let's just get on to that Heather McDonald. Okay, she's a lot different than the rest of those idiots.
Hold on. I have to answer that because if I don't, that would be like I agree with you. I just like saying the boys. I didn't say anything about being gay. It's like the Village people say. You enjoy hanging out with all the boys in the Navy. See the 7 Seas.
Yeah, right.
You can't joke about things anymore. I mean, I think you're getting a little defensive. Maybe I'm getting close.
I think your subconscious is taking over. Okay, I think you have this subconscious predilection, okay, that you really don't understand. Okay, so you need to go back and learn a little bit more about psychology, with Carl Jung and the animus and the anima, right? But anyway, yeah.
I'm gonna go see my my therapist today. I'll bring that up to him.
Yeah, so we have Marxism in this country, and it's so pervasive. And Heather McDonald, okay, she's great. She wrote a book, When Race Trumps Merit. That's exactly where we're at. The diversity delusion. That's exactly what we have. Okay, and this is what we're trying to stop. The extremists, okay? And you say, oh, well, what is extremist? What a squishy word. All these words are squishy. Everything the government does is squishy, right? You don't know what the hell they mean. You don't know what the laws are. You don't know any. Why do we have hundreds of thousands of pages of laws? There's no reason. There's no reason, because the basic reason you have laws is to guide behavior. Nobody, none of the jurists, none of the judges, anybody knows what the heck those laws are. So why do you have them? They're not guiding anybody's behavior. I'll tell you why. Because they want to keep you as a timid animal. Okay, that's really it. And of course, the great Alexis de Tocqueville understood this, that the government would turn you into a timid animal. And unfortunately, that is what's happened. And the people don't even know it. They don't even understand it. Extremism, what is extremism? Okay, extremism is where nations with populations that have different ideas and different things that they want to do. Globalism is extremism. Okay, forced multiculturalism is extremist in my book. Okay, international government is extremist in my book. And guess what? We got to go back to Goldwater. Liberty is not extremist, but in a government that's tyrannical like ours is, where they have thousands and thousands of laws, and you don't even know you're breaking a law, and they'll charge you with things. There's no mens rea. You don't have any criminal intent. What's that all about? It's all about controlling the people. Oh, print money, print money, print money. Yeah, so now we have all this debt. Okay, we've hollowed out our nation because the people don't understand these things, and they listen to these wackos coming together, and they can't differentiate. Oh, well,
this is another example of Al trying to hijack the conversation when we were simply talking about the Save America Act. Notice Al has his own agenda, and he gets a little upset when you say the boys. He hasn't really referred to anything that we've talked about. We've talked about the Sun Valley Conference of Conservatism led by the Manhattan Institute.
I just talked about
Mike Johnson trying to save America, and Al talking about de Tocqueville.
No,
what changes in this
he's not trying. He's not trying. You don't understand. He's not trying to save America. You liberal rhinos don't get it. Okay, who's trying to save America? Somebody like Hegseth. Okay. Because what's he doing? But what? You go along with all these liberal rhinos. Hegseth is doing exactly what he should be doing. He's depoliticizing our military ranks. Okay, he's getting rid of.
Hegseth is firing everybody. How's that working out for us?
It's great. It's great. You see, you don't understand. Yeah. That's your problem. Okay, he's getting rid of all the DEI. You love DEI. You love it. So you get all these women in here, okay? Oh, yeah, and you get all these people.
Here we go with Al ripping. Here we go with Al ripping women again. Apparently, Al doesn't like women.
You see, this is what you say. This is a simple-minded way of looking at DEI. This is why. I don't really think it's simple. I think we're just sitting here going again and again and again, going, hey, man, we're talking about the Save America Act. You're going on and on about some inane history lesson. And now you've called me a name. I haven't called you a name. I would call you a kook. I respect you. Well, thank you.
I don't do that. I believe in Reagan's. I agree and believe in Reagan's 11th commandment. I don't believe in calling people names, but if that's how you want to roll, go ahead.
Well, look, okay. No, what I'm saying is this, okay? Look, if you want to,
what are you saying?
You don't even know. Listen, if you're cutting down, okay, our great Hegseth, who's trying to depoliticize and de-DEI and de-Marxism our military forces, and he's got to get rid of these idiots. Okay, he's got to get rid of the idiots.
When did I criticize Pete Hegseth? But you have to admit, Pete is firing a lot of people with a lot of experience.
Experience of failure. Okay, this is the problem. Okay, we've got this massive government where we have this crazy processes that they can't put.
Is he firing people or are they resigning? Which is it? Are they firing people or are they resigning?
But let's begin.
Look, get rid of all of them. Get rid of the entire DEI. Listen, you had a military where a man went in with slacks one day and a skirt the next. Any high-ranking officer that was up in the top that didn't resign at that point, get rid of them all. I'd say just purge all of them. okay, until you can come up with a group of officers that can actually think like cynical Publius, okay, who is an '06 who writes Via American Greatness and talks about how the military needs to depoliticize and stop all this DEI. Look, all I want.
Most people would say the military has been depoliticized and is depoliticized and just wants to do its job.
Yeah, you see, and that's why you don't know what you're talking about, and that's why you're ignorant. Now, I'm not cutting you down. I'm just saying.
So you're saying the military isn't doing its job in Iran?
I'm saying that it hasn't done its job in 40 years.
If they haven't done their job in Iran, then that's on the Secretary of Defense, is it not? Isn't he responsible? Al, thank you for the call. 580-KIDO traffic, 6580-KIDO. How about those storms over the weekend? And it really makes me wonder how prepared we are for any type of natural disaster. Especially folks in Nampa and Caldwell, where we had people out, trying to dig out of the wet, where literally, over 500 gallons of water following the big storm. You've got Nampa City employees out working, parts of where I go to church had some flooding issues. Obviously, the Walmart on Fairview, one of the roofs caved in or something like that near the Walmart on Fairview. It was really just crazy what a significant storm happened. It was like a blitzkrieg of rain and thunderstorms, and we live in, living in Idaho is really like being on some type of great football team, where we are so used to winning, we are so used to incredible weather. Yes, the hot weather. Yes, the this weather. Yes, everything else. That our roads and our infrastructure are really not set up for what happens with when we have a little bump in the road. Remember Snowmageddon, where we were worried about the roofs caving in. We were worried about all these other things happening. And what this weekend weather has shown us is that we, again, we're not set up for the harshness. Now, we can laugh about affordable homes in the Midwest, but those homes have been around for 100, 200 years, some even more, and they're built to withstand these things. Not saying anything bad about our homes that are built here, but our infrastructure, again, is just not set up to handle. I mean, imagine the damage that would have occurred if that rain would have continued on for a significant period of time. Imagine the damage that would have occurred if we had had more and more rain, and thankfully we didn't. I mean, it rained Saturday, but it wasn't with the same velocity or tenacity that we saw over that Friday blitzkrieg, if you will. I mean, I'm an idiot. I'm outside trying to move stuff that's already wet and the thunder going. I go, wow, this really reminds me of living in the South. And props to everyone, specifically those people who have to work in the rain and everything else, that went out there and did their job and continue to do their jobs in the wet. It was funny. We had a lot of people wondering if the Boise Music Festival was going to be canceled. No, we were out there and we had some performers. I'm out there in the wet with Julia Child or Julia Coles or whoever it was. And she performed well. It was great. It was wonderful. And there was no danger or anything. The bottom line was, we got through it, and it was a wonderful event. But I look at all the flooding that occurred, and I think to myself, maybe again, it's the nature of the business. Maybe it's just this is how it happens, and it's the will of the Lord. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I just wonder what we could have done differently. And again, if your area was flooded, I am so sorry. And it's funny. I think there are some people that lollygag, and I'm not being a hater, but lollygag and skip through life, and they never have a Greg Ferrara, and I guess that's why they're not Greg Ferrara. But they never have a challenge. And then there are other people, and if you remember Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore, and people always said, Kevin Miller, you're Eeyore. You always see the glass half empty. Yes, because you're never disappointed. But here you work hard. Maybe you're going to the Boise Music Festival. Maybe you won tickets. Maybe you just want a weekend reprieve, and all of a sudden life happens, and all heck breaks loose. It's crazy, isn't it? It's just crazy what happens. And I just think about it and go, man. So if you had to deal with that, I'm sorry. I'm sure the disaster relief people were pretty happy about that. Our friends at Ness, don't mess with the mess. Call the Ness. I miss the Ness. Anyway, here we go.
18 months. You know, the 19 new trade deals, agriculture has been at the top. We inherited a $50 billion ag deficit after not one new trade deal under Joe Biden. But how he is managing this and how the teams are working together across the Trump administration, the Trump cabinet, is our great farmers. We're ready to ship. The minute there is an order that is put in, the wheat goes, the soybean goes, the corn goes. I mean, it all begins to go. So we're ready and standing by. We're expecting some record-breaking exports this year, not just with Iran, but really across the world. The numbers are amazing. Corn way up, ethanol way up, wheat way up, soybeans way up, et cetera. So we're ready. It's been a really incredible 18.
And she's awesome. You know, we need to get her to Idaho. Let's write a memo to the governor. Dear Governor Little, we know you love the ag. Dear Governor Little, we know you're a rancher. Dear Governor Little, this is a sincere message. I'm not being sarcastic. Could we please bring the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, to the state of Idaho? She's always talking about the farms and this, that, and the other. Wouldn't that be great to see her in Idaho? Brooke Rollins. Man, he hires a lot of good people. He really does. He really, really does. Coming up, we'll have more on the Iranians as well. We're just getting started. By the way, if you're new to the area, Kevin Miller in the morning, been here a while, conservative, been here for a while, love Idaho. You can catch us on YouTube. One of the few talk shows in America on YouTube that is on the radio. You can catch us on Google, Spoodle, Spotify. You can catch us pretty much everywhere. And we're always here to serve. Coming up, I'm going to talk to you about the dangers of Idaho, the dangers to Idaho. I wrote about this over the weekend, and it's something that is so big we need to talk about on the radio. Don't forget Sean Hannity today at 1. Will Sean be back? Sean's had a little voice issues, and I can relate today. So hopefully Big Sean will be back. And I'll tell you how he hurt his voice next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO.
Sit by, stand by. While Iran continues to attack international shipping without a response, or our bases without a response, they're sadly mistaken, and they saw that loud and clear over the last few nights, where we'll continue to militarily, if needed, take down their infrastructure that they're trying to use to illegally control an international waterway. And Shannon, just one more point on that. That's not just the United States. That's the entire international community. A UN record, 143 nations have agreed with us that this is in violation of international law. Even the Chinese government has said you cannot be taking tolls or fees. Iran was apparently relying on Oman across the waterway to help it set up this new infrastructure. And now Oman just yesterday has rejected the idea of tolls or fees. So they're completely isolated here. President Trump's not going to stand for it. And meanwhile, we continue to move ships out by the dozens every day. And world oil prices are not just stable, they're dropping. So Iran's attempt to hold the world hostage and their economies hostage are completely failing.
Well, there we have it. And when we're talking about this with the UN ambassador, former Green Beret, outstanding dude, incredible guy. But really what it comes down to, dear friends, and I guess we could, unlike Al, will lump his conversation into some type of consistency. And at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we have the United States saying we cannot allow the Iranians to charge tolls. And, you know, actions have consequences. Look, I think President Trump has done a great job but the job isn't done. And on one hand, it comes down to who do you believe? You can be like the people at Newsmax and Fox News, and you have a one-sided point of view. Although Fox News has gotten a little weaker lately and started talking about the other side of the story, and then the president and Fox News are once again going through their breakups. And then you could have the people on PBS and others say, well, you know, it's obvious that the stockpiles are down. Thank you for aiding and helping the enemy. Of course, we're not going to confirm that our stockpiles are down. We don't know if our stockpiles are down. We don't know a lot of things. But the situation is our strategic oil reserves need to be replenished. Joe Biden drained them to try to prop up his bogus economy. He was not held accountable for it. We have the American public that is so spoiled that they don't want to pay higher gas prices to take down the world's terrorist state. We have the greatest military in the world that sees this challenge and really has not been allowed to be fully unleashed because we don't want loss of life. We don't want loss in the international community. And one thing that you're not going to hear anywhere else is one of the reasons why the Iranians have been able to hang on and hold us at a alleged stalemate is we have not brought them the pain. And it's fascinating to me, and maybe I watch too much lib news, but I'm watching CNN that is about ready to get cleaned, washed, padlocked, and fumigated when David Ellison takes over. And Jake Tapper is talking about the school of the little girls that were killed by the Tomahawk missiles and how no one has been held accountable and everything else, blame America. And I go, you know, nobody likes innocence to be lost. Nobody likes to kill people. But Jake, when have you taken on the Iranians and the multiple terrorism incidents that they have sponsored, the beatings, the hangings, the torturing of Americans, the targeting of Israelis? That's right. I said the Israelis. Because like Sean Hannity, like Kevin Miller, like Ronald Reagan, we stand with Israel. I know the end thing, and it's cost Ben Shapiro a lot of money, but Ben is with Israel. Tucker Carlson and others bagging on Israel. Marjorie Taylor Greene bagging on Israel. Kevin Miller's not going that way. It's the in thing to do. It's not the in thing with us. But as I'm looking at this going, of course public perception is skewed because that's what they get, those people that watch the media. And really, it's not about critical thinking anymore. It's about what media doesn't inform you, but indoctrinates you. That's really where it is, indoctrinating you. And that's the world we live in. Do we try to tell the truth? Yes. Are we going to say that we agree with the mayor and her continued social media excursions? No, especially when she's raising taxes. I would much rather see, here's a challenge to the Boise mayor, the Meridian mayor, because to me they're one and the same. Yeah, I said that. To me, they're one and the same. They should be not posting social media. They should be hitting the books, hitting the bricks, and doing what private corporations do, what households do, and find a way not to raise taxes. And to our friends, and I do hope that they are still our friends, the folks at the Ada County Commission, let's have them figure this out. You know, we have a lot of people that have retired that have a lot of money. I'm sure they could help us. I'm sure almighty Dave Petso could help them manage the money. Maybe that's what we need instead of politicians. And you know, you're right. We turn it over to bookkeepers. And where are the bookkeepers? Oh, gee, golly, we cut off Joe Biden, and now we don't have any money. What are we going to do? So what have we learned this segment of the program? We'd love Brooke Rollins to come to the state. There's a meeting of not social, but financial conservatives led by the Manhattan Institute in Idaho this week as we get ready for Sun Valley. There's a lot going on, and we do our very best to keep you informed of this. Now, how did Sean Hannity hurt his voice? If you ever hear Sean, he's always talking about the life of Sean Hannity. He gets up and he show preps. and then he works out, and then he show preps again, and then I'm sure he does another workout. I don't have this confirmed, but having known him and listened to him over the years, this is what I think. So he's got this guy called the Sensei, or the Sensei. And if you watch The Office, you know what I'm talking about. And they practice the martial arts because, Sean won't tell you this, but Sean's life as a conservative, all conservatives, his life has been threatened. So basically, Sean and the Sensei, or the training partner, they were going back and forth, and apparently somebody grabbed him and pinched his nerve in his throat. And unfortunately, it hit a nerve very well. So Sean has been taking prednisone. Now, if you're not familiar with prednisone, it does a very good job of killing the pain, but it impacts your appetite, it impacts your mood, and sometimes you get the puffy face. Well, Sean is trying to recuperate and recover and get his voice back, so that's what he's dealing with. Again, he's very transparent, and he'll be back to doing the Hangin' with Hannity. I think it should just be Hangin' with Hannity, but the branding purposes is podcast. And obviously, what he's doing with the show, the radio show, the fuel that feeds the fire, and the television show. So there's your Sean Hannity update. But again, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I want to talk to you about something I wrote about that I really would love to hear what you have to say. First, traffic now, 580-KIDO. Let's get you to work the right way, safely and on time. I don't think there's going to be a lot of traffic this week. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio, traffic continues to look good on this Monday morning coming out of Candy County into Ada County. No major delays for you. It does slow just a bit in the Meridian area. Don't forget State Street from Glenwood as you go eastbound down to about Pierce Park. You have construction there and reduced speeds. You can dine at Indian Creek Steakhouse Happy Hour until 6 o'clock daily. More affordable than most fast food places. For specials and live music, find Indian Creek Steakhouse on Facebook. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Let's go to Liberal Steve, who joins us now on 580-KIDO. Good morning. Hopefully a good LS. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother by another mother. Good morning, Idaho. I know most Idaho's not awake yet because they're Saturday and Sunday night drinkers. But what's with this Save America Act? It's too late. It's way too late. America cannot be saved. It's over. Come on. I mean, look, Iran don't even pay attention to us. They go and do what they want, and then we bite back at them. They go do what they want. What kind of country are we that we just can't go make it happen anymore? Gosh golly. And then all your buddies, I guess I'm going to be up there July 8th up there in Sun Valley, July 7th. Might get in that day, but the way flights are nowadays.
Is that when Allen Company is, July 8th?
Yes, that's Allen and Company in Sun Valley. It's just a bunch of billionaires getting together to talk about, what we're going to do. Marky Zuckerberg will be there, Tim Cook, Bob Iger. They'll all be there. And there'll be a few weirdos that drift in from Disney. And I just stay in the corner, like they say, with my glasses on and my Bob Dylan shoes. But yeah,
you don't get anywhere. You don't get anywhere near Sun Valley.
I've been to Sun Valley so many times; it's just unreal.
You haven't been there for Allen and Company. You've been there for the Liberal Steve. You've been there for the Liberal Steve Junk Convention with Sanford and Son. In fact, I heard they wanted you to play. I heard they wanted you to play Lamont.
Oh, really? I never heard that. I would have gone for that.
Yeah, I would be Fred, and you'd be Lamont, and I'd call you a big dummy all the time.
Yeah, big dummy. So yeah, it's what exactly is this Save America Act again? Is that where everybody has to prove that they're a human being and an American citizen, or what is that?
Can I see your identification, please?
Well, under certain laws, I don't have to show you any ID. Am I being detained, sir?
You
Am
are.
I being arrested?
You won't be allowed to
Well,
vote then, sir. Beat it. Hit the bricks. For all I know, you're an illegal.
So, yeah. But what does Trump have to do to get that passed anyway?
Well, he's
Does
laying
he
the
have
hammer
to
down.
Well, yeah, but doesn't he have
Nothing
to
is going to
into-
get done until that Save America Act is signed, bub.
Oh, well, nothing's been done yet. And now everything that your president, your fair and balanced president did is getting overturned left and right. And even the national parks that he shut down are all getting
tell that to the
reopened,
Supreme
thank
Court.
God.
Tell that to the
Thank
Supreme
God.
Court. How are we doing there, bub?
Your Supreme Court, it's not my Supreme. I think we need to get 9 people on the Supreme Court, maybe 12.
You ever heard about that? My country, right or wrong. I lived through Obama. You need to live through the fumigation by President Trump, getting rid of all the libs. See you, lib.
Well, you grew up on the East Coast, so you're the same as a Canadian then, right?
I grew up in America. I grew up in Ronald
grew up
Reagan's
in the
America.
East
Reagan
Coast.
was my daddy.
All
Reagan was my daddy. I don't know whose daddy you were. Who are you, Johnson
yeah?
or Roosevelt or McKinley?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. But, hey, the hybrids are coming. Don't be scared. We're not going to eat all
Hey,
of
whatever
it, but
happened
we're gonna
to
eat
Brazil and Scotland, you guys were going to get us, and you didn't. Failed to perform. I bet you've heard that a lot.
Yeah, I have heard that a lot. Way too many times, especially in Sun Valley. But, yeah, I'll be there. I'll give you a call from there in Sun Valley, and I'll send you some photos, all righty?
We look forward to you. God bless you, Liberal Steve. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO Window World. Thank you for sponsoring this portion of the program. Good morning. At the Boise Music Festival, an abbreviated work week this week. We will be here till Thursday. Then Friday we are off, getting ready to celebrate America because we love America. And coming up, we're going to talk about just really the future of the country and future of Idaho. And like I said, I want to thank Eric. I want to thank Ray Jr. I do want to thank Shane, who I met for the first time, a listener of over 10 years of the program. Very humbled by his comments, very humbled by the responsibility that he's given us. And thank you very much, Shane. Joining us now is the anti-Shane. He would be the villain, the heel, Jonathan Savage, joining us now. Live from London, we have dominated so many people in America that we have to import our heels. Good morning, sir.
Hello, I'm just cannon fodder as usual for you, Kevin.
You are the Orange Cassidy to my, and I won't go to MJF. I can't do that. I can't even think of a wrestler in AEW that I'm all about.
That you admire, that you respect, even possibly.
I'm with you. I'm trying to think of any really wrestler. I suppose, I had a boss here that for 5.5 years tried to fire me. And I would always talk about, it's a true story. I would always talk about it. He was like one of these Johnny-come-lately wrestling guys. And he was a weirdo. I mean, he would collect like the items and stuff. And look, I've forgotten more about pro wrestling than he has. And I was so happy when we got rid of that guy because he was really trying to get me. And that's what happens in wrestling. That's what happens in this business. And I remember him like trying to talk wrestling with me. And I would say, well, dude, I'm more like the classic Ric Flair. He goes, oh, you're Sami Zayn. And it was a love-hate thing because he loved Sami Zayn. And I go, Sami Zayn, the goof that wanted to be the documentarian? And now he's the world champion. So what say you?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess your ex-boss is probably very happy today. I haven't seen the match yet. I want to go back and watch it, but it was a bit of a crazy weekend because I know you had the Boise Music Festival, and I had a concert by the '90s boy band Take That reforming for a stadium show in London to go to. It wasn't my choice.
Who? Hold on.
Who? Take That. Who? Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, never heard of him, pal. And look, I lived in the 80s. I lived in the 90s. And while you were in the stands going, oh, they're going to shake their thing. Oh, look at Take that, everybody. I was at Garden City, the crown jewel of Idaho. And I'm up there introducing Everclear, and I'm screaming and yelling. They're going, Kevin Miller. And I'm going, you're not mentioning Jonathan Savage now, are you, people? You're talking about a real man. Too much classic Ric Flair.
Okay, I do have to ask you something. Did you see Marshmallow without his mask on at all?
Let me tell you something. It was raining. It was pouring. I am still not well. Unlike you, I don't take days off. I come in and day out and face the people because I love the people. And the people
Didn't
said,
you just say that you were working Friday?
I wasn't working Friday. I didn't work last Friday. I needed a mental health break because I had. If I'm not the best for the people, then they don't. They deserve the very best. I'm not going to be a jobber.
You also just said that you don't take days off within the same breath of saying you're not working Friday.
The godless corporation has said you will take this day off, boy, and you will like it. Now, maybe when I was coming up in the days with Sean and Dave Stone and all these other great people in Huntsville, Alabama, in the dungeon of radio, trained by the great Peter Thiel and Bill Donovan, the guy who's created more stars than anyone. There were no days off in Huntsville. You worked and you loved it, and they worked you and they fired you, and you became a man. It was like Stu Hart's dungeon. And let me just say this. And I used to fight, and I fight. You know what they said, Kevin? I'm tired of you, punk. You loudmouth Yankee punk. Get out. You're fired. And then I went to the deeper South. And then the guy goes, hey, buddy, I'm going to re-sign you. You're fired, punk. You're fired. And then I learned you don't fight. You don't cross the boss. So reluctantly, because I love America, I will not be allowed to work on Friday. Are you happy now, sir? Sometimes the people need a rest from the champ.
Well, yes, I sympathize. You've been run out of more territories than...
Yeah, I have been. I will tell you this. I was talking to my dad. He goes, well, your sister's did this. I go, she ain't been anywhere like me. Oh, you're right about that. Now, let me just say this. Let's get back to the topic at hand, shall we? Shall we, or are you going to continue to try to bully me? Are you going to try to continue to bring me back to the Kevin Miller Mountsville era? And you reviving the role of John Mounts. Is that a fun role for you, sir?
Well, it is fun, and it's not that hard either. It doesn't take much to rile you up.
Well, it's how I show my affection, sir.
Yeah.
It's how I show my affection. Yeah. So anyway, Sami Zayn, the world champ, I don't know if they've lost their mind or what. I do love the character twist almost as much as I hate to say this, and Bo is mad at me, you're mad at me, but I was right. Turkey, 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 as you're getting ready to go there, watch out for Constantinople, the real Istanbul. Watch out for the Grand Bazaar, the Blue Mosque, the Church of Santa Sofia. And as the U.S. team found out, the Turks showed up on Friday, buddy.
They certainly did show up on Friday, and I guess that was a bit of a warning to if there was any overconfidence creeping into the U.S. men's national team after their very, very strong start to the World Cup. Well, it may be just the thing they need. It may have been the best thing for them to have a little defeat going into the round of 32 to sharpen them up. Do you know that the United States team, they have lost 10 consecutive matches to European opposition, and they've got to play a European team next in the shape of Bosnia-Herzegovina. So I think that's probably going to be a good thing. I think they're going to do fine against Bosnia. I think they will win that. I think Turkey are probably better than the Bosnians, to be fair. So yeah, don't worry too much. If you were getting stressed out about Wednesday, I think you'll be all right.
I'm not stressed out about it enough because I haven't joined the Borg, and you have been nowhere and done nothing until you beat the Europeans, until you beat the Germans, until you beat the Spaniards, until you beat the Scots, until you beat the English. And like I said, there's a lot of things that go on marketing-wise with the World Cup. They expanded the field. They allowed more money to be made, which is great because, well, look, if you were about money, you wouldn't be doing this. I'm not about money, but really it's a great marketing campaign, and you have people talking about it. Now, if the real football were going on, the American football, I don't think people would care.
About the World Cup? Well, yeah, perhaps.
Right.
The timings work out, don't they? I mean, so is baseball going on at the moment? Is that a rival for attention right now?
Nobody cares about baseball.
There you go. Nobody cares about baseball, but people care about the World Cup. 40 million Americans play soccer, I understand, one way or another. That seems like a high number to me, but somebody just said that to me in Florida, so it must be true.
Yeah. First of all, who cares about Florida? Florida called me, and they said, Kevin Miller, we want you to come to Florida. And I said, no. How about that? How about that, buddy?
Well,
Has Florida called you?
You could have said, I'm staying right here, but I'll happily talk to you in Florida.
No, that's selling out. I hate that stuff. That ain't legit. That's
Fair enough.
doing shows from other places. That's posing. What about AEW? What happened? Ospreay win?
I don't know. All I know is that Jay White came back. That's the only thing I've seen from that show. Jay White.
Who's that guy?
Switchblade. Yeah.
Oh, the Switchblade. Ooh, the Switchblade's going to get you. Is he, like 140 pounds?
No, Jay White's one of the bigger guys, at least in AEW, so he's probably about 140 pounds. You're right. But no, Jay White's a big guy. I'm pretty sure he is. He's he's pretty tall. He's from New Zealand, and they make them big in New Zealand. The sheep herders.
Is that a country?
Yeah. It is a country.
So let me. Do you? Hi, guy. A little close for you. Hey, do you have any time here or not? I do have some. You did get me off on my goofy tangent, but I do have something for you.
I got 2 minutes or so.
That isn't fair. Let's talk this week, and I'll tell you a little bit about Marshmello and his trip to Boise. The guy is, and please let's do that because I really want to break down what happened, and I want to share that with you.
Go for it.
Well, I will the next time we talk. So it's on you. I don't want to interrupt you talking to Dallas or Poughkeepsie or Akron, Ohio.
Okay, well, it's Des Moines, but I'll forgive you. And we'll do this next time, and I can't wait to hear. You see, this is trailing the next episode. This is leaving on a cliffhanger. So this is just brilliant broadcasting.
My man, Jonathan Savage, Des Moines. That's how they really pronounce it, and it's Dubuque. Not really.
Okay.
See you, brother.
All right. Have a good day.
You too, our great friend Jonathan Savage. We apologize if that didn't really make any sense to you. Look, I will tell you, we have great videos on all of our social media from Marshmello. And a lot of people don't know who Marshmello is. He's just one of these new people that if you're Taylor Swift, if you're whomever, you go to this guy to do your music. And this is what happened. Now, again, Kevin Miller was contractually obligated to see Everclear. Got to tell you, I was a little disappointed in their performance of Wonderful. And they clearly were the outlier because it was a lot of the new music with Eve 6 and MK2KK. They did a great job in the rain. Julia Childs, Julia Cole. It was funny, backstage, she comes by and everybody's talking to her. And, hi, Julia, how are you? And then she looks at me, and I had a big thing of pulled pork that I grabbed from Neighbor Tim's, delicious Neighbor Tim's. And I go, I like meat. And she goes, that's nice. Always good to leave an impression of Idaho. So, but Marshmello, when he came in, it was, and again, not to belittle any other concert show, not to belittle any other event company, not to belittle any other broadcast company. That includes the television stations that never give you anything for free, or the radio groups that want to charge you money. That's how they make money. That's great. And I know some of you paid for your tickets. Some of you didn't. And it really has hit me by talking to you about the magic of the Boise Music Festival and the people selling the drumsticks and the coned pizza and all the entrepreneurs. And it was funny. Sunday morning coming home from church, I'm seeing the snow cone guy, the corn dog guy going to another festival. And as I'm sitting there watching these people, taking a look and seeing things from this perspective, I look to myself and I'm thinking that is the American dream. And again, a lot of us have had to do without. And what really hits me the most is people who come up and say, hey, man, thanks for the tickets. Now, for us, we're brainwashed. We're to give out tickets nonstop. So when you're working it, you don't see the magic unless you hear from the people. And I heard from you. And it was great to be a small part of people coming in to watch these shows. It's a thing for them year after year after year. And every year you think, how is the Godless Corporation going to do this? And they do it. And it's a small group. I see people hauling stuff in, because you have writers for the artists, and then the RVs, and we got Rance driving around in the cowboy hat. Ice. People looking for ice. It's very unique, the logistics behind this. And I just marvel at this thing. But this guy, Marshmallow, and again, Kevin Miller has other responsibilities. And after being there, I left after Everclear. But we have a live correspondent, a few of them, Ugo Promotions, and Mateo from Kiss FM, and they're giving me real-time updates. And this guy, Marshmallow Man, when you perform at a high level, and people, for us, I was debating people about this. The highest artist we ever had was Pitbull. Pitbull was the man. And you could argue, Train or Jelly Roll, Ludacris, his many appearances, Jason Derulo. But Pitbull, again, is the old way. Big production, television, this, that, and then you got this guy that wears this mask. And people were so into this guy, the Mr., as I call him, Mr. Mellow, that people were wearing those masks walking around Expo, Idaho. And so as I'm breaking down the tapes, the guy is so into the crowd. Now, remember, he did 2 or 3 shows in Vegas, on his way to Chicago, back to Vegas, then doing a European tour. The guy came in here, and you would think that he was performing at the local stage, how much this guy gave to the event. And that's really what the magic of the Boise Music Festival is. I really don't know how we can match it next year. Again, I'm not on the committee, but if I were on the committee, I would tell you. Now, again, if I'm on the committee, I'm saying let's bring in the Village People. Now, I'm sure the Village People cost a lot more than they did before President Trump was reelected, but I would bring in the Village People. I would bring in the Village People in a heartbeat. And when we have our post-meeting, I'm going to suggest the Village People. I'm going to suggest, I'm trying to think of anybody else, Bon Jovi, the Village People. That's the era that I listen to, Van Halen in whatever form they're in. But regardless of that, this guy, Mello, and people go, well, Kevin Miller, he does this certain thing. I don't know if the people of Idaho were into it. I mean, packed house. So again, thank you to our partners. We call them sponsors. The food vendors, the people that volunteered to work this festival for us, the staff, if the staff is listening. I don't think they listen to this program, which is fine. Everybody has choices. That's why we love the people that do. But I will tell you, it was amazing to see this and to be a part of this as well. Again, I'm a curmudgeon, a contrarian, but I have to tell you, it was amazing. And then the weather, to overcome the weather. So, again, no one tells me to do this, because if they would, I would be going, thank you very much. It was wonderful. No, huge, amazing. And then, thanks to people that you just heard the promo for the balloons, another free event. We move on from Garden City to Boise. We look forward to being in Garden City, or not in Garden City, in Boise for the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. That is more of a morning event where we get up and we go. And a lot of people go, well, Kevin Miller, what about Idaho Patriot Thunder? The weather turned out great on Sunday, but the roads were still wet. You had people getting out of the wetness, the flooding in Caldwell and Nampa, parts of Meridian. Sorry about that. We do appreciate you coming in, and that will be July 27th. So we will be in High Desert, Harley-Davidson for that one. We are rolling on the right side. Blessed to be with you. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580 KIDO. And again, you got to wonder what's going on in Iran.
President about it. Iran has requested a meeting this week, so Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be flying to Doha for high-level meetings this week as we continue to discuss the memorandum of understanding. On the sidelines of those high-level talks will be the technical talks. So as far as we're concerned, we're holding up our end of the ceasefire. Violence will be met with violence. As you mentioned, Brian, there were attacks on commercial vessels that the United States of America, directed by the president, responded to, and that will continue to happen, but we hope we don't see that. The president obviously wants to see the peace process play out, and the Iranians would be best to sign a good deal with the United States of America because the president has proven he's unafraid to use the might of our military. Look at Operation Midnight Hammer. Look at Operation Epic Fury. Either way, though, the United States of America wins. If the peace process plays, this MOU continues, gas prices will continue to tumble. We're seeing crude is lower than it was prior to the start of this excursion, as the president calls it. Or if Iran chooses to be a bad actor, they'll prove themselves to be the pariah of the Middle East. They've totally alienated themselves from their Gulf and Arab partners in the region. And the United States of America has the best and strongest military in the world. The president retains the right to use it. But again, the memorandum of understanding will continue to be discussed. The ceasefire is in place, and we hope that we can get to a good deal. The president will sign one that puts our nation's interests first.
There we have it. Carolyn Levitt breaking it down. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And again, an amazing time here. Will the Arab states continue to back us? That's a big one. And I think when we take a look at where we are and where we're going, do you look at regime change? Do you look at... I think there comes a time and a place. Somebody said to me, hey, Kevin Miller, and have you ever reached this? And there are a lot of people like, and again, Leslie Stahl, Scott Pelley, people may say, hey, we don't like them, but these people, their identity is their job. And having been to the Iranian war, or not the Iranian war, the Iraqi war twice, and again, it wasn't anything, no big deal. One of the few people, one of the only talk show hosts in America not to go once but twice, and not with the official military. We went with the North Carolina National Guard many years ago. That's on YouTube, Kevin Miller in Iran. Of course, going with our beloved Idaho National Guard for, 10 days, and working, I don't think this would ever happen again, working with Channel 7, working with the Idaho Statesman, because we were the only ones that did it. We had Channel 2 that tried to go because they were competing with us. I don't know why the TV stations did that, but they didn't have the intestinal fortitude that we did. And I'm going to tell you that. The commander goes, yeah, Channel 2 tried to get you, Kevin. And it was all about chasing the story. Having come to a point in my life where I don't know if really chasing the story is that important as opposed to highlighting the good news here. But this what I'm trying to say is Donald Trump has, I think, reached a point, the president has reached a point where how much further can he go? And yes, I think age has a lot to do with it. Because in your 60s, I believe, is the new 40s, you look at life a little differently than you do in your 80s. And just as we say, Father Time is unbeaten, what we've seen, and no one can ever take this away from this guy and his family, and people can call them names and attack them now for making money. But the government, the media, the Democratic Republican Party, and the illegal system tried to literally kill him. And then we had 2 assassination attempts. And he goes into Iran, and he's got the Iranians on the run. And then you have people saying, if you do this, which is legal in any war, it's a war crime. And then you have the Senate with the War Powers Act. They reverse that because it's bad for business. And I think if you're Donald Trump, do you say, if I go all the way, they're going to come at me again? And I think Donald Trump is a brash man, a courageous man. But does he really want to be litigating at The Hague when he's 85 over this war, when Putin runs free, when the Iranians kill people? So that's where we are. But that's what it's going to take to destroy the Iranians. I'll explain that next. 580 KIDO traffic. Let's get. By the way, whatever happened to Joe Biden? Joseph Biden. Remember him? Good old Joe.
Look, it's not just his deliberate distortion and destruction of NATO and it's choosing Putin as over American allies, or the fact that he's diminished our standing in the eyes of the world more than any president in history has. It's not just his vanity projects, tearing down the east wing of the White House, making room for his ballroom, putting his name on the Kennedy Center, building an arch in his own honor, even hiring his own pool guy to fix the reflecting pool. Whoa, what a loser.
Yeah. Okay, Joe. What about you?
Look, folks. No, folks, it's not just that. Reflecting poll reflects something even worse than the narcissism and incompetence at the core of this administration. It's the corruption. The corruption. The brazen, blatant corruption. Corruption on a scale never seen before in American history in any administration. Trump has made billions of dollars since returning to the White House. It's simply stunning to me.
Yeah, Joe, I'm sure, was worried about making his millions and billions of dollars. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Thank you for joining us. Going back to this Joe Biden thing, and Joe is kind of doing his own thing and trying to rehabilitate himself. We have other people saying to themselves, poor Joe, he's this, that, and the other. Dude, Joe needs some help. Joe needs some work. Joe really needs, some type of intervention, if you will. Don't you think? I would think that he would, when we're looking at just his presidency. One of the worst ever, if you will. Truly one of the worst ever. I look at this thing and I think to myself, Joe, who are you to criticize anybody in reality? But Joe continues on trying to do his own thing. And it's really Joe Biden. We talk about the future of our state, and there are a lot of people that say they don't believe that our country, America the beautiful, will be around for another 250 years. And that's why it's so important for you to believe in America. And I do believe that, and people can criticize me for being self-aggrandizing, can criticize me for being self-whatever, but forums, I'd like to say forums like this, but there are no forums like this. When we're talking about real-life conversations, real-life drama, real-life intrigue, we have a lot of people that are in the broadcast business that are getting out of being local. And you ask the folks that have moved here from California, say the words KGO, say the words KSFO, some of the greatest radio stations ever, filled with conservatism, some of the most dominant radio stations ever, filled with conservatism, no longer around. They've been replaced by betting sites. They've been replaced by other things. And as I look at this, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, local radio, the ability to get in your car and do things and say things is something that should be protected. It's a natural resource. You know, it's ironic to me that Congress is debating the Save the AM Radio Act, and yet many of these people that are wondering about saving AM radio have eliminated the local, which is really what makes AM radio and radio in general the best ever. Local. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we have these local discussions again and again and again about big issues. Now, sometimes, and I believe this is what happened to me in Pittsburgh, you get too close and they pull a Gary Webb on you. And what Gary Webb was Gary was a reporter for the San Jose Mercury News. The guy uncovered what happened concerning Iran-Contra. He was the guy that uncovered that we were using drug money to fuel the Contras. And instead of, his newspaper went along with it. And instead of saying, hey, you're great, this, that, and the other, eventually the government closed him down. And Gary was debunked. And then Gary committed suicide by shooting himself not once but twice in the head. I don't know how that works. He lost everything. Everything. Gary Webb lost everything. And this is what happens when you get too close to the fire. So I write about this on our website, KIDOtalkradio.com. And, not to be confused with this another award-winning column, Where to Watch the Fireworks on the 4th of July. But there is no one, and I understand why they're doing this, because they're fearful. The media has been neutered. The media has been, whatever you want to call it, big money, big corporations have a lot at stake. But when you're looking at the future of Idaho, you're looking at a state that may not exist in 100 years. Well, Kevin, that's hyperbole. Take a look at our resources. And this is where you have to wonder of being not the most regulated state could come back to harm us. Kevin, you're a liberal. No, we're in the drought season. Utah has banned fireworks. Eagle, Idaho, I got to give it to Eagle. They're not playing around. They say if you fire off fireworks, you're going to be prosecuted. Eagle, Idaho is doing what no one else is doing. And that is, you do this, you're going down. And good for them. I agree with it. It's against state law to do these things. And you have people firing off fireworks. And I hope it stays as wet as it does now to save us from all these blazes. So you take a look at this article I wrote, and I urge you to take a look at it. I really do. Because you take a look at the data centers coming in. And you take a look at what's next for Idaho. And the data centers use up land. The data centers use up all sorts of resources. They particularly use up water, as I have talked and begged and pleaded with so many people about our limited resources. And who the only elected official I know that's talking about water is who? Is Lieutenant Governor Scott Bedke. What's going to replenish the aquifer? And then, as we discuss in this article, and again, it's a very, very, it doesn't go much in depth. Look, I have limited bandwidth. I can cover a lot of things. I can't go in depth. But then you have the mining. And, the president's cutting deals all over the world. Well, the president cut a deal in Idaho. And you look at West Virginia, look at other places. And do we all of a sudden, and again, Idaho has beauty, but so does West Virginia. But West Virginia has been cut up to nothing more than a giant coal mine. You heard Dylan the other day talking about water and what's going to happen if all this water happens, and people buying water rights And what does that mean for the minds? What does that mean for the animals? Could this help the libs actually gain power in Idaho? 580-5436-580 KIDO today. Coming up on the program, we have Lars Larson. We have Victor Miller. We have Jared Halpern. And now we have David DeHaas.
Paid
Good
for
morning,
by Living Waters
Double
Wellness
D.
Center.
Good morning, Kevin.
And to you.
Hey. Oh, yes. David was a farmer. He told me he had his hands in the DDT and other chemicals back in the 1950s. Age 75, he had Parkinson's. He had to hire a caregiver to drive him to his appointments. David was worth millions of dollars and spent a good amount of it trying to find a cure for his Parkinson's. Well, he joined our 10-day cleanse, and on day one, it took him 30 minutes to get up 13 steps. He had to be helped out of a chair and a massage table. His gait was unsteady and slow. On day 3 of the cleanse, he could walk up steps normally. On day 5, he got himself out of the chairs and massage table on his own. Day 8, he felt so good he couldn't believe it himself. He walked out of our building, and rather than his caregiver drive, he drove off. It's common for Parkinson's people to be constipated and have a lot of chemicals and toxins. Using colon hydrotherapy to clear out the unconstipated matter and toxins, David was giving his body the permission to heal. You can learn more about colon hydrotherapy in our 10-day healing cleanse and retreat at livingwaterscleanse.com. Call 208-378-9911. And don't miss this Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on the Whole Body Detox Show right here on KIDO. Dr. Newsom is my guest again. Shares more of his wisdom on detoxifying the body. Don't miss it. Nothing here is meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. Seek out a qualified healthcare professional to see if cleansing is right for you.
David DeHaas got into the disclaimer and everything. You're a good David DeHaas today.
You know what? That coaching from Coach Miller is just pristine. It's amazing.
Well, you never want to be like bad Kevin Miller. Bad Kevin Miller ends up in a tent in the rain on a Saturday.
Yeah, how'd that go? Kevin? Did it work out okay?
It was huge. I'm sick from it, but it was it really shows you, and I know you're doing your conferences and stuff, and I'm sure you've seen this at these levels, but it really shows you the power of belief and the consistency when you have, no matter the rain or the sleet or whatever, people come in and look at 10 o'clock, people were setting up their chairs so they were ready to go for world-class entertainment that they got for free.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
You guys do a great job. I mean, it's amazing what you guys do for that show. It just blows my mind. It's incredible. You guys, hats off to you. It's amazing.
I will tell you, me, I'm a hater, but no one will ever outwork the folks in this building. I will tell you, man, those people, look, people have choices, people have this, people have that, but I've never seen as small as a staff work as hard as these people do, year in and year out. And again, it's not just one and done. We move on to balloons, and I know you like balloons.
I've never been in a balloon. That's one on my bucket list. I got to get in a balloon.
Oh, I think I can arrange that for you, actually, if you'd like to do that.
I would love to do it. High on my list.
Hold me to it.
Yes.
I don't have many powers left anymore, but I do have the balloon power.
You know what? I'll take that balloon power. No, you guys do an amazing job. If no one understands what it takes to put events on, like even the event I was at this weekend, the people behind the scenes, what they do, volunteers. I mean, you guys, it's like an army. I mean, and you guys are a small army, but you do big things. It's incredible. I've been involved in that on the other end, and I know what you guys go through. So hats off to you, man.
I'd like to say we're a fanatic.
You deserve
fanatics.
A free colonic, Kevin Miller. You deserve a free colonic for that work. That'll help you with that little cold you got going on. Get that immune system going up.
Thank you, David DeHaas. I guess it's better to give than receive, or
just let it go. Go with the flow, Kevin. Let it go. Yeah. Let it go. Go with the flow. Kevin will be the best Joe on the radio.
Thank you, David DeHaas. You take care, sir.
You have a blessed day, my friend.
Paid for by Living Waters Wellness Center.
Man, I love that, David DeHaas, but didn't we used to have a show here called the Let It Go Show with Dylan? Let It Go, yeah. It's tough to let things go, and we're talking about the dangers to our great state. We'll take up with that next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. You remember this guy, Dr. Fauci, Ouchie Fauci. Do we have this? Guess not. There we have it.
I'm the bad guy to an entire...
A big guy in public, and all of a sudden he's a big name. And I know a lot of people have a problem with the E word, empathy, but I think it's a superpower. And there was no empathy in Dr. Fauci's voice. There's no empathy in Dr. Fauci at all. When Dr. Fauci is talking about, I am science, people hate me, that sort of thing. Dude, it ain't about you. It's about little kids wearing a mask. It's about school. It's about my family going to the Oregon coast and people wearing masks outside the lighthouses. Are you kidding me? And Oregon, unlike Idaho, that had the police state that you better wear a mask or you'll be arrested. I can remember, doing that gallery. What was it, 6 years ago during the pandemic? Because we live in the ADD world, maybe our successors, our great-grandchildren will study this. But what a remarkable time. What a blessing it was to be with you during that entire time. Again, the Godless Corporation said, Kevin, you're going to come in. And I came in. The only reason why I, am doing this show from home is because I got COVID. So I had to peace out, and I go, well, okay. And they said, well, you're going to take the equipment, fumigate it, and go. And we did. And we persevered. We lost a lot of people. We have people that are never right, never going to be the same. I was telling either my mom or my wife or both, some of the experimental treatment that they did on me. I can remember because, again, not very healthy. And if you were a plump person, COVID targeted you. And my man Jeremy got me into the special Zappy treatment and you got to wonder about what they did to you. And I was always hoping that it would be, the COVID treatment would be like the Captain America effect, where you go in and they give you the super soldier secret serum super formula, and all of a sudden you have all this strength. But, and I don't know if any of you had this treatment. What they did is you went to this undisclosed location because they were worried about security. And I'm not kidding you. I believe it was in a school. And they would give you the address. You couldn't share it with anybody. And there were people in their late 60s and 70s, and me, I think at the time, 50-ish. Yeah, 50-ish. And they had people like in hazmat suits injecting stuff into your body. And you would just sit there and they go, you can't move for a while. And you were in these chaise loungers, and then if you had to take a wee, you took your IV with you. And you really wonder what that did to you. Did it save your life? Did COVID, when you had COVID, did it really mess your biology up? Like redefine your DNA? And instead of saying, I understand people have questions, we get this guy.
Easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science. You're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science. I'm the bad guy to an entire subset of people because I represent something that is uncomfortable for them. It's called the truth.
And for some reason, I'm thinking of Jesus right now. And I'm thinking, when people criticized him, who felt for the people that were attacking him? Jesus. I guess, I don't know. I don't know anything about Gandhi or any of these other people, but I guess you'd say to a much lesser extent Reagan, but Reagan would fire back. So here you have this guy that didn't like Donald Trump, was a sniveling, snarling person who, by the way, should be examined and possibly prosecuted. You don't beg Joe Biden for a pardon if you don't need one. And whether it's Game of Function, whether it's Game of Thrones, whether he circumvented Obama, whether Obama was in on it, these are dangerous things. If you've ever seen the movie Judge Dredd, where Stallone or the other guy goes, I am the law, this guy saying that I am science. And how many little kids were scared into getting those vaccines? How many people, I go back to people in the homes that weren't allowed to see their loved ones.
It's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science. You're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science. I'm the bad guy to an entire subset of people because I represent something that is uncomfortable for them. It's called the truth.
Yeah. Then release all the files. Let's do a Watergate on COVID. 580 KIDO traffic. Lars Larson coming up very soon on your home for Lars, Sean, Play a Buck, the big ones. And that grumpy guy in the morning, Kevin Miller. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin, from the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio. Traffic really looking pretty good still on the freeways. You come out of Canyon County into Ada County. In fact, all the way from Ontario into downtown Boise looking good. Construction continues. Middleton and Linden. Look for the orange barrels up there. You can dine at Indian Creek Steakhouse Happy Hour until 6 p.m. daily. More affordable than most fast food places. For specials and live music, find Indian Creek Steakhouse on Facebook. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Thank you, Dave. Again, coming up, we'll have Lars Larson. Hello to Rocky. Hope Rocky is well. Love that Rocky can hear us, whether it's the app or the expanded signal. Thank you very much for that. Coming up, we're going to have a live report from Washington, D.C. next week. If you're going to America's State Fair, if you're going to the 4th of July, we would love for you to join us. Now, again, we are off on Friday, which is the 3rd, but we will be rolling live until Friday. We'll be back the following Monday. We would love to have your firsthand reports. So if you are going to D.C., let us know. And we'll get you on. We already have one very important VIP that will join us. I'd love to take the entire show to Washington. I'd love to go to Washington, but sadly, not in the budget. Are you listening, Meridian? Are you listening, Boise? Not in the budget. Let's have some cuts, not raising taxes. Kevin Miller, good morning, 580 KIDO. So, Lars, here we are, one of the more slower days, slower couple weeks in the year, celebrating America. We'll give you the old Bill O'Reilly line. What say you?
Well, I got to tell you something. It's sad that we approach the 250th anniversary of America, since you throw that at me cold. And Americans, apparently, according to the polls, are, well, I just want you to, I want to tell you that this has been on my mind. And that's why I have an answer fresh at hand. If anybody thinks Kevin and I map these things out ahead of time, we don't. And that's because Kevin's a pro and I'm a pro. And I think what's sad is we're approaching the 250th birthday. You would think that Americans would say, my goodness, a republic kept in place for I think, the longest-standing republic in the history of the world. Self-government done by citizens, which many people doubted could happen, is in fact happening and has happened for a quarter of a millennia. But now we may be approaching the end of it because an awful lot of Americans are not proud at all of their country. And that tells, well, I guess it tells me a couple of things. I wonder where that's coming from. I suspect I know the reason where it's coming from. And some of it is coming from America's colleges and universities and our news media that are pushing us in the direction of socialism and ultimately communism, which is the biggest killer in the world. I mean, many people will invoke Adolf Hitler in Germany, but in fact, the biggest killer on the planet has been communism. Its total number of victims more than 100 million in the last 100 years. Now imagine that. Is there anything else on this planet created by man, not natural causes? We've had earthquakes, we've had floods, we've had diseases like tuberculosis that took one person in 7 over time. But imagine something created by man that would actually kill over 100 million people in 100 years.
And, you know, it's funny, we were airing the clip of Fauci saying that he is science, and you're thinking, where's the empathy, Dr. Fauci? And if you didn't do anything wrong, why did you clamor for some type of pardon from Joe Biden? And why don't we have complete and utter and full transparency?
We should, and even if he has, you know what I think would be the justice you can get, that even though Fauci has a pardon, and say, well, we can't prosecute him now, doesn't mean you can't make the case. It doesn't mean you can't investigate what happened. Think about how many things that happen in our world where we demand that we get some kind of explanation. Why did this awful thing happen? Because you will have an ordinary fatal, I say ordinary, but a fatal car accident, not the biggest event in the United States in a given year, but we'll do a police investigation to find out what happened. If we have, just recently there was a major tank failure at a paper-making plant not too far from where I live. 11 people died, and many people were badly hurt. And people are demanding, well, let's have an explanation. How did that happen? Why did that happen? What could we do to stop it the next time? Then you take a look at COVID, and you say, should we have a full explanation? Not the BS we were fed during the pandemic, which was lies from Dr. Fauci, lies that were directed at protecting himself, not America, protecting himself. And if we could determine this is what actually happened, these are the lies we were told, and we are going to call those lies out. Is there a point to doing it that way, Kevin? Think about when we have a major, we don't have too many major airline accidents anymore. Back when you and I got into the business, fatal airline accidents happened, more often. I think they now happen on average about every 10 or 12 or 15 years. Thank God. But do we still have an NTSB that will literally go out and find every scrap of that airplane, try to reassemble it to some extent, and figure out exactly what it was that brought the airplane down? And if you say, why do we do that? We do that because it helps us determine how to make sure that it's as unlikely to happen again as possible. You can't ever make life foolproof, and I'm not seeking to do that. But we do demand, we want to know what happened, what went wrong. And we do an analysis of some kind that says what caused this to happen. And I think we should do that with the pandemic, and with the government's role in the pandemic, and with Dr. Fauci's role in the pandemic. And if somebody tells me, but we can't prosecute him, that's okay. I think the justice might come in telling the public, Fauci got a pardon, and if he hadn't been pardoned, he'd be sitting in prison somewhere. Wouldn't it be important to determine that, or determine that he's not guilty of anything at all? I don't think that's true. But, maybe the investigation would determine that. Fauci deliberately pushed us in a direction away from what was the real explanation, that dangerous research, which had been banned in the United States by the great constitutional scholar Barack Hussein Obama, was then moved to China by a government employee who made the biggest paycheck of any government employee, including the president, Dr. Anthony Fauci. And he moved it there so that he could do illegal research, but legally done in communist China, and put it in a lab that also did work for the Chinese military, and say, and this is going to work out well? Who thinks that was a good idea? Show of hands. How many people think that was a good idea?
Well, and you bring up a great point. And again, as Lars says, we didn't coordinate this. We mentioned this before Lars' segment, that we have was the president either incompetent or complicit in allowing this to happen?
President Trump? I think
no. President Obama, when he moved gain of function outside of the U.S.
See, I honestly think I would give Obama his due, because many people think, well, I'll just determine that anything Obama did was wrong. Well, I think there were plenty of things he did that were wrong, but I think it was right for him to ban gain of function. But if you tell somebody you can't do gain of function research, I'm forbidding it in the United States, which is the only place the president had the power to do it, and a government-paid employee then says, well, then let's move it to a communist country that is one of our biggest opponents on planet Earth, and hid what he was doing. And then after the pandemic began, every time people got close to looking at the real cause of the pandemic, he realized if they look at the real cause, they're going to determine that the United States funded some of the research that created the disease that ultimately killed over 1 million people in our country.
Yeah, and like I said, you have to wonder, does that responsibility lie with the president for not knowing?
I think ultimately
the
buck does stop on his desk. It does. And so you can say ultimately it is his. But was there a way to know what was going on? Because I'll tell you something, Kevin. I think there are things that are going on under Trump that Trump has no idea what's going on, because when you have a government of 2 million employees, you have hundreds of government agencies, is it possible to keep an eye on what all of them are doing? Is it?
No, not at all.
And I think the same would be true. I don't know. Pick any other big company. Simplot. How many employees does Simplot have in Idaho? Thousands, I would guess. Do you think the CEO knows all the things that all those thousands of people are doing that may be illegal or immoral or wrong? I don't see how he could.
Right. But again, Simplot is a private company, and the government is, our company. Let me switch gears real quick, if I could, Lars.
Well, and the only reason I say a private company is because they're still held responsible for what their company does, right?
Some would say more than our government if they mess up.
I would say so.
Private companies. Yeah. Lars, this is where we try by, again, with my little goofy questions here at 580 KIDO. But what do you make of the Republican parties? And we could throw in California, but in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, there's always, people say, hey, it's great. But then you have others that are, it's back and forth. At least we're a Republican state. But primarily, what do you make of the Republican opposition in Oregon, Washington, and how does that affect Idaho at all?
The Republican opposition in Oregon, Washington, is pretty simple. It's pretty weak, unfortunately. I have to say, I wish it were stronger. But in both states, Idaho still is a good, strong conservative state. Washington and Oregon, the Republican Party is barely hanging on by its fingernails. Sadly.
That's wild. Yeah. And you attribute that just to the power coming out of Seattle and Portland?
Well, I think what's happened is vote by mail handed every single major election victory of the last 30 years to the Democrat Party in both states. And you see what happens in single party, where you have single party rule, because in America there's a balance that is struck by having a strong Republican Party, a strong Democrat Party. One will be a little stronger most years than the other one, and you end up with some creative tension, because every time the Democrats propose doing something crazy, the Republicans can push back and say, no, you don't. And if the Republicans are in the majority, if the Republicans do stupid things, and they do, from time to time, a strong Democrat presence will push them back and say, no, you don't. What happens when you have a state where Democrat Party rule has been the rule for, in the case of Oregon, 40 years? 40 years, where the Democrats control every governor, they control every legislature, they control virtually every elected official. Well, they do control every statewide elected official. They control, in Oregon, super majorities of Democrats in both the House and the Senate. So they control all the lawmaking, and that means they control all the spending. And then you have Democrats in positions of power in every single county, every single city of any size. So you go out to the rural areas, and you might get some more conservative people there. But in Portland, the schools are run by a school board made up exclusively of Democrats and liberals, and in some cases, communists or DSAs, Democrat Socialists of America. And so when you have single-party rule, you're seeing what happens with single-party rule in the state of New York, because the state of New York and the city of New York are both controlled by these Democrat supermajorities, and now they're tending towards socialism, which leads automatically to communism. It always does, Kevin. And then when people say, well, maybe we should go more in the direction of socialism, can you point to a single country on earth that is truly a socialist country that has worked out well? Let's try Cuba. No. Venezuela. No. The former Soviet Union that doesn't exist anymore. No. How about communism in a country like China that has a lot of capitalist enterprises but is run by communist control? People have no freedoms, people have no liberties, and the country is dangerous. It's dangerous to its own people and it's dangerous to everybody else. Oh, hold on. Just saw the Supreme Court, oh my God, Kevin, right in the middle of our segment. The Supreme Court has ruled 5-4 that states can accept mail ballots after Election Day. Do you realize that's nuts? Election Day, where You send ballots out to people in vote-by-mail states 3 weeks. There may be some that go more, but 3 weeks before Election Day, you have ballots sent out, and then you say, oh, and if they happen to come in after Election Day, we can continue to count them, which means they can continue to cheat. Look how the mayor's race came out in Los Angeles, where Spencer Pratt was the solid second-place finisher. He would have gone to the runoff in November against the horrible Karen Bass. And instead, overnight, the late ballots coming in switched it to Nithya Raman, the member of the city council, who was running in a distant third all the way through the vote counting, but magically, overnight, late ballots pushed it her direction. And now the Supreme Court says they can count ballots after Election Day.
Boy, that same Supreme Court that is so corrupt and so filled with Trump loyalists that only do what he says, hard to believe.
Yeah, isn't this amazing? It was 5-4, which means 4 justices. It was one, and if I had to guess, do you think I'm right in guessing John Roberts threw it to the liberals? Watch. You watch.
Yeah. Yes, the notorious
crazy.
Justice Roberts.
Well,
David
been
Souter
horrible.
lives it. Hold on, David. Yeah, David Souter. Once again.
Well, what are you going to do when? Yep, Justice Roberts. I just got the detail. Justice Roberts joined the 3 liberals in the majority. The court's 4 conservative justices dissented, and that means they can keep on counting ballots till the Democrats win. That's the bottom line of that, Kevin. Keep on counting ballots till the Democrats win.
Lars, one more real quick, if we could. Your thoughts on the Iranian situation, sir?
It sounds like the Iranians do not want to have an end to the war. So it sounds like Donald Trump's going to have to pound them back to the Stone Age, I guess, except that I don't know if that's an option for him either. So we've got a problem. We've got a real problem. Who thinks?
Lars, anything else you'd like to share with us? I'm sorry, Lars. When you pause, you throw me off. So, and I always want to be respectful of your time.
I know. Don't worry about that. I'm fine.
My man. So please finish your thought on the Iranian situation, sir.
I think they're going to continue to make trouble as they have for the last 47 years. And I think at some point you're going to have to deal with them. But it sounds like that point may not be right now.
Yeah, and again, I think when people threatened war crimes against him, I think that's what he pulled. He's decided to not go all in, if you will.
Yeah, well, that or he realized that literally it's going to be that Congress might be able to shut him down and nobody wants to solve this problem. So that means we'll have to deal with it another time. And I think Trump will be remembered as the president who tried to solve it. Do you remember how people mocked the idea that we went after Iraq and didn't finish the job and had to go back and do it again? Remember? So that's where we are.
Indeed. You are you off next Monday?
I'm off Monday and I'm off Friday. So that's how that works. By the way, Simplot has 18,000 worldwide employees, 1,200 in Boise.
My man, Lars Larson, we'll miss you greatly, but please enjoy your time. We love you, brother.
And I will talk to you on Tuesday then.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lars.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Our great friend Lars Larson. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO.
Unsolvable problems. I mean, the way he treated the presidency and the gravitas that he brought to it are serious things that I think Americans appreciate. And certainly now, at a moment where Donald Trump promised, a ton of different things, and those things have not happened. He has not made things cheaper. We are still very much, this war with Iran is not solved. It's just to look back on someone who took it so seriously and whose word was their bond it's really striking.
Who had no scandals, who did not breed algae in any of our monuments, who did not attack our allies who did not start wars that he brought. I mean, the comparisons go on, and I'm sure that's what drives Trump so nuts.
Yeah, and that's Nicole Wallace. Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning. Blessed to be with you, 580 KIDO. By the way, I got to tell you, if Obama was so great, Hillary Clinton would have been elected. Remember, it was Obama that picked Hillary Clinton, not Joe Biden. It was Obama that decided that his legacy would be tied to the Clintons, not to his own vice president. And remember, we had Fast and Furious. We had the IRS auditing people like Glenn Beck, the IRS auditing people like Sean Hannity, the IRS auditing conservatives, the Wetumpka Tea Party, and the liberals will go, oh, that's just right-wing nonsense. No, we lived it. We had the elimination of many prominent local talk radio hosts across the country because, quite frankly, their agenda was considered too toxic. That's how I remember Barack Obama. I also remember that the Obama administration, and again, I'm going to be very honest with you. It's going to be very hearsay and speculative. But years ago, I was approached by someone in Idaho. And by the way, we had this person on our program many, many times. And he was a good dude. And he was involved in national politics. I don't really want to disclose his name now. He has passed. And he told me, he goes, yeah, you were the guy. We didn't think that we would get you. Now, again, I don't know why people would lie to me. But there was a concerted effort, and this, again, according to this deceased gentleman, led by Rahm Emanuel, to silence voices, which is fine. That's the game that you play. I'm not saying I'm a victim. I did a very dumb thing in Pittsburgh, and it was a blessing of my life. It got me here. It really, I was not the person that I am today because of, I was very focused on radio. That was it. It was my faith, radio, and then my family. Thank you to Mrs. Miller after being acquired by her enterprises. It's my faith, my family, and then radio. Although they probably would disagree with that. However, what Barack Obama did was, and again, I have another guy who told me that, release some stuff as well. And let's see, do we have the sound working at all?
By the time things got to my desk, they were, unsolvable problems. I mean, the way he treated the presidency and the gravitas that he brought to it are serious things that I think Americans appreciate. And certainly now, at a moment where Donald Trump promised, a ton of different things, and those things have not happened. He has not made things cheaper. We are still very much, this war with Iran is not solved. It's just to look back on someone who took it so seriously and whose word was their bond it's really striking.
Who had no scandal.
Yeah, he had no scandals because he had Eric Holder making sure that anyone that attacked him. Remember, Eric Holder attacked our congressman at the time, Raul Labrador. It said, I don't know where you're from, whatever. I couldn't even pronounce Idaho. And said it with such contempt. Yeah, that was the Obama White House. If Obama was so great, we would have no President Trump. We wouldn't. And people would be questioning the Netflix deals, and people would be questioning everything. But Obama was the greatest ever. Again, I had another guy who died. Who, again, I don't know why people came up and told me, said, look, man, I have this email here saying that they're not going to buy advertising because of you. Why do you think I'm always so paranoid? Because it's been done to me before. It's been done to me again and again and again. And this was the Obama administration. I love this. Let's throw it back to Obama. Obama gave us Biden. How'd that work out for America? Let's go to Lucille. And Lucille, we have plenty of time. So we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, Kevin. Good morning. Happy Monday, if I may say so. I'm always amazed at these people's short memory. I don't know who that Karen was that you just, had on the. Oh yes. Oh, but it's always Trump's fault. They forget what the broken promises of Biden. Biden said he would unite the country. He divided it more than ever. Biden said he would right all the wrongs, by his definition, of the previous administration. He made them worse. The economy went down, and all that. Let's not even go to places like Afghanistan, Iran, and all that sort of thing. But now it's all Trump's fault. He is always he's always the problem. All those who came before him, oh, good Lord, no, poor things. They were wonderful. As you said, if they had been so wonderful, we wouldn't have had Trump twice. You're quite right there. I totally agree with you. No,
I would agree with you on that. And then I'm sorry to interrupt, but this revisionist history with Barack Obama, not at all. I'm sorry. Please go ahead, Lucille.
No. You're quite right. You're quite right, because if they revise history in their way, why shouldn't we revise history the way, just to refresh some people's memory? Remember that Obama said that he would heal the racial problems. He made them worse. But nobody can say that because that's racist. I'm so sick of these people, Kevin. I really am. And now the court gave them an ace and said that they can count, votes, I don't know, until they get the number they want. So we're going to be counting Chads, Kevin, until the cows come home, or at least until Democrats get the numbers that they need to get into power. Thank you, Supreme Court. Thank you, John Roberts, and whoever else was responsible for this. I'm telling you.
Let me allow you to expand on this for a second, though. What have we heard from the left of how horrible the Supreme Court is, how we need to expand it? Now, you notice Lucille isn't saying tear down the Supreme Court. She took it like a good person, a good citizen, a good American. But the left, this is the Supreme Court that's lawless. Does this seem lawless to you? We disagree with the thing, but we're not saying burn down the Supreme Court like the loons are.
Well, they handed them an ace, so I hope that now there's going to be some reconciliation with this horrid Supreme Court that is, Trump's puppet. Incidentally, those who want to pack the court, which I believe, I'm not an expert, but I believe is unconstitutional and not right, those are the ones who accuse Trump of wanting to destroy our democracy. What's so democratic about packing the courts in your favor, Kevin? Explain that to me.
It's a rubber stamp.
Explain that to me. But fine. Heaven forbid if two conservative or pseudo-conservative judges are appointed by a conservative president. Good Lord. The dictatorship, fascism. But these sterling defenders of democracy want to pack the court so that the court will give them everything they want, that's democracy. I don't know, Kevin. I retired to Bedlam. I really did. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And it shows, we didn't get into it with Lars Larson, but this whole social Democrat thing, it really reminds me of the 1930s. And these people that just make it up as they go and they want to tear the system down. Well, if you tear the system down, what do you do when eventually the mob, as we found out in the French Revolution, when the mob comes for you?
Oh, the mob is not going to come for them. The mob is going to come for us, and that's what they want, because the solution, according to the left, is kill everybody who disagrees with you, these defenders of democracy. They exchange memos, Kevin. It's exactly what's happening in the UK. They all, yes, Starmer resigned, whatever you want, but who's coming in his place is much worse. Believe me, Burnham is much worse. And now they have pulled out all the stops, and they must have sent the memo over to us and said that just go for it, barrel down with socialism, with communism, and let's see what happens. And what happens is never good when you make socialism or communism. Stop calling it socialism. That's a euphemism. You know, they just pulled out all the stops. No, just go for it. No more dissembling. No more, oh, no, we just want justice, social justice and all that crap. Nothing of that. Just go for it, barrel it down. And that's what's going to happen. And I just pray that we do not become like England. But the left got the memo. And now they're doing exactly the same thing. Pull out all the stops. Pull out all the stops. Might as well have a good fight and may the best man win. At least we're armed. In England they're not. At least we are. And I'm saying this in self-defense. I'm not saying that we should go out and mow down people who disagree with it. But they're going to come after us, Kevin, so we have to self-defend.
They are.
We have the right to self-defend.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
But it's not easy, Kevin. It's not going to be easy, and I really am very worried. I tell you the truth. I pray incessantly, but I'm very worried. So, my dear, let's keep praying, and let's hope for the best, and let's keep pushing the good men, trying to put them in power. And that's what we can do.
Thank you, Lucille. Appreciate you. More calls coming up next, 580-KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Resuming any talks this week. Maybe they want to celebrate the 4th of July. The president's saying there are going to be many talks. We are celebrating America. Yes, we love America. We're all about America. Are you? Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Story in the Wall Street Journal, a story that we've been talking about for quite some time. The Chinese cars.
To be where I am right now, but I do think that conditional tariffs on Chinese cars are probably going to be necessary. I don't think that the Europeans can allow their auto industry to be totally hollowed out. Now, there's some compromise here. Probably totally trying to shut Chinese cars out of the market is going to be a bad thing, be very costly to consumers. But on the other hand, I've been shocked not only by my own change of mind, but by some of my colleagues, people who are longtime advocates of globalization and free trade, who are saying, okay, needs to do some, really, if you like, it's national security, it's market disruption, to just allow something as big as the European auto industry to just be overrun, even if consumers would benefit for a while.
At the end of the European car industry, could that happen in America? We'll tell you about that in a minute. First, we roll on to Mark, the watchdog of Eagle. He's reacting to the Supreme Court while fighting continuing in Lebanon, despite the ceasefire agreement. So much for ceasefires. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin. A real turmoil-filled day, especially on the Supreme Court. Oh, guess who wrote the opinion, though? It wasn't Justice Roberts. He got, and look whose side they took, Amy Coney Barrett. I'm going to call her Amy Coney Barrett. She wrote the opinion. She took the side of the leftist judges on the Supreme Court. And it just so happens, yes, our famous good old Justice Roberts, the one who wanted Obamacare, voted that in play, also sided with Amy Coney Barrett in that 5-4 decision. But it was her that wrote the opinion for the courts. So what does that tell you? I've said quite a while back here at KIDO, Kevin, on your show, there was some stories that have come out that behind the scenes there is speculation that Justice Roberts is ties with the CIA. I keep saying over and over again, one of the greatest threats within our country's government is the CIA, the intelligence community. What was it that good old former FBI director and traitor of this country, Comey, said? That we have legions of people in the deep state, within the FBI and the intelligence communities that are there. Yeah, they're there, all right. This is another example of what's happened. And with what they just did, they are going to keep perpetrating the fraudulent voting that we have seen go on in the United Kingdom, England, and what has happened in other European countries overseas and how the globalists have gained control. We're seeing the movement from liberal. We should not anymore mix up the term liberal with socialism and communism, because that's what's happening. Some of these people are running in seats across this country under the name of a Demo-rat, are actually socialist / communist. So I think we need to change our terminology on what we call some of these actors that are fraudulently winning elections and seats across this country to undermine our country and government. The enemy within that was predicted by one or more of our founding fathers that would come evidently in the future, and we're seeing it happening now. The destructors of America. What's his name? Joseph McCarthy.
Boy,
he was dead.
Hold on, you bring up a good. Hold on, Mark. You bring up a good point, though. This is how decimated the Supreme Court is. It took Roberts and Coney Barrett, not just the usual Roberts, but it was, as you've correctly pointed out here, at 580 KIDO. So it wasn't just the usual John Roberts, because we've eliminated a liberal. They only have 3 liberals on the court. And once again, the conservatives do it to ourselves. So we didn't only have the John Roberts, who is the David Souter of our times. If you don't know Justice Souter, look it up, one of the worst picks ever by a Republican. But it's almost, as you pointed out, Coney Barrett doing this. So basically, Kavanaugh, Alito, Gorsuch, and Thomas, the big 4, if you will, they went with this is wrong, this is destroying the Republic, and it was Coney Barrett that decided to flip. I could say, you would almost think this has Kavanaugh's fingerprints on it, but no, it's Coney Barrett that did it. Wow.
Oh, yeah, and I bet you, though, that Justice Roberts had Coney Barrett write the opinion, so the fingers would all point to him for what he did during the Obamacare debacle and voting for it, and what it did to the healthcare system in our country. Joseph McCarthy was dead on right about the influence of communism and socialism in our country. He was dead right. We need a lot more people like him to come to the forefront and point out what's going on in both parties. The Democrat Party, or what I call the Demon Rat Party, has been totally taken over and has continued to be taken over by the rabid, far radical leftists, socialist / communists. But we have them within the Republican Party, and they're called rhinos, and they're taking the place of the normal progressive liberal Democrats, but they're putting an R on their little name. In front of their name, they're putting an R. But we know what you are out there, you rhinos. We have them here in the state of Idaho. So, as been pointed out so many times here on KIDO by a number of your callers and some of the people that you have as guests, and Tea Party Bob. So that's all I have to say. I don't know what's going to save our country when this kind of crap is going on. They should have put a limitation on, Kevin, as to how long those mail-in ballots can be counted until it gives the far left their victories that they fraudulently get all the time. There should have been a set deadline. 3 days maybe at most after the elections, 3 days at most, because you do have bail-in. And I can see one thing I can see to the point of this is why it probably went that way, because of ballots coming in from overseas, ballots coming in from rural areas, things like that. I can kind of see why they would swing in favor of 5-4 like this, but it's still not right, because we've seen what happens in states that we just got pointed out by the gentleman you had on the talk show host this morning,
Lars Larson,
in the past hour, and pointed out about
Lars
what
Larson.
happens when.
Yes, Lars Larson. Yes, Lars Larson. Yeah. All right, Mark, thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 580 KIDO. Told me he's grown up on the Kevin Miller program. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate you so much, and it was remarkable to meet your family. And, of course, just an incredible time. As I said, a lot of us are feeling it today. And, thank you to all the people that believe in the Boise Music Festival. And as I said, it's interesting that we take a look at something we take for granted, which is the ability to put these things on. And like I said, whether it was the pandemic or this, that, and the other, our event year continues. We have Idaho's largest garage sale, which kicks us off. Then it's before that, it's the Canyon County Kids Expo, and then you always know when you're successful when other people copy your stuff, and we've seen that here with folks copying our news organization, Fox. And then we go on to the Idaho's largest garage sale. Then we go with Boise Music Festival, which has really become one of the best kept secrets in America. And I say this as a contrarian. I don't think there's anything like this in this part of the country, this, west of the Great River or even east of the Great River, where, you have the opportunity to go see these acts by simply listening to the radio. If you ever come across me in public and, one of the things that I try to match the passion of you in promoting and supporting and keeping this program alive, because there are various forces, and we know who they are. Some political, some in the media that would love this program to be squashed. In the old days, that would be figuratively the death of me. We just move on to other platforms and everything else. But the primary fuel that feeds the fire is Idaho's first media station. Others will try to say whatever, legacy. There is no legacy besides this station that was created by kids in Boise High School, at Boise High. I don't know of any other radio station in the country that was created by kids in Boise over 100 years. Over 100 years. Can't match that. And then that thanks to our gracious sponsors that put up the money that they hope they will get back in ROI and goodwill and in business. I talk to people sometimes. I don't talk, I listen. They go, dude, you got Marshmello? Now, again, I like Mr. Mello. I couldn't tell you anything about Mr. Mello, but Mr. Mello is amazing. And Sean Paul. People that saw that show, they were blown away. Everclear, probably too much of a dirty language for Boise or Garden City. So be it. Julia Lewis or Julia whatever, not Julia Childs, whatever her name is. Great act. I had the joke around the broadcast center. I kept calling her Julia Childs. Remarkable, talented young lady. The others, it was great. Eve 6, MK20, people will stop by. And then we have people that come up and they're takers. And they go, hey, KIDO Radio. Oh, you're one of those. What do? We talk to kids. Really? What's that like? Well, we have funny voices and we talk to kids. And they go, what are you giving me? And there's one couple. And I go, what do you mean, what am I giving you? Well, radio, give me something. Give me. I'm a taker. And I looked at Mr. and Mrs. Taker and I said, it's these radio stations that fuel this whole thing. That's the radio stations, the group put this on. Really? I never knew that. Yeah. So your free entry was courtesy of people that believe in radio. And, people can criticize radio and do whatever they want, but it's over 100 years. There would be no other radio or TV stations. Remember, Channel 7 came from KIDO TV. They don't like to talk about it, but that's just the way it is. So building upon that, I get a chance to do a lot of focus group stuff. And, hey, give me something. Why? You don't listen to this station. And then someone else said, well, I need you to do something for me. I go, what's that? Well, I need you to help me with a project. I go, oh, okay. Well, you're the radio. I go, do you listen to the radio? Because if you're not invested in whatever radio station you're into, you can't understand the value of what we're going to do to help you. We want to help you, but you got to, I love it when we have people that come on and they go, well, yeah, and they don't mention the show. They don't mention Clay and Buck or Sean or Lars or anything else. And you go, well, clearly you don't value this, so why are you wasting the time of people that do value you? It's so much of a thing. But back to the music festival, I meet this gentleman by the name of Shane. I meet his family, and I'm going, man, people. And he goes, "Is Tea Party Bob here?" Which we always get. And then we had Ray Jr. come in, and all of a sudden he goes, "Is that Patriot Ray?" Well, no, that's his dad, is Patriot Ray, but that's his son. And it's a remarkable way to kick off the summer. And we end the summer with the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. As we've said, and you'll hear the commercials, we want to thank the people that allow that to be free. If I had enough money in the world, everything would be free, but I don't. And that these people that invest their time, their effort, their business. Again, I would tell you if people were asking me to do this, I always give props, good props and bad props. Game honors game. But I was just blown away by people, the goodness of people over the weekend. And then, again, some people I'll just, like when I was doing the ticket runs, thanks to Swire Coca-Cola and Walmart, people would go, "Hey, I've been looking for those tickets." And I go, "Really? What station do you listen to?" "Well, this one, it's the best." Well, that's good enough answer. You tried. Like I said, I put this up against anything in the country. And this is someone who has competed nationally in the country for many, many years, been on every show imaginable. So I think I have a great national perspective. But it's something that, again, we've already announced the date, June 26th of next year, that you have this small staff that continues to churn. And I don't know how it's going to be bigger than Marshmallow. But to me personally, I think we should bring in the village people. Maybe that would get President Trump to Idaho. Let's go to Jim in Boise with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. Repeating our top story, the Supreme Court says mail-in ballots are good. Good morning, Jim.
Hello. Are you ready for a possible conservative conspiracy theory?
Bring it.
Okay. How's this sound? What if the decision today was prepayment? By that, I mean the Democrats are going to go wild. They're going to be congratulating the court for the next day because we got another batch of decisions coming out. What happens if they've been lauding the court all day long, and then the court goes for actual constitutional birthright citizenship and the revocation of it? What if this is a diversion, a smaller mess to cover them for the big mess that they might be making?
What would be the big mess?
Well, you got to figure that I think the biggest decision that they're going to come up with this year is the birthright citizenship, and wow. I did not believe that the court was going to do anything quite that brave. I thought they might waffle around the edges, but I didn't think they were going to come up with a decision that would be supporting what the Constitution says and what the Trump and the rest of the country is trying to make happen. I didn't think that was going to flow, but maybe it will. Maybe they decided to do that, and they basically sided with the lefties on this one because has a smaller impact.
They wanted to throw them a bone.
They wanted to throw them a bone because, and it makes the court look good for a day until the Democrats suddenly find themselves on the other side, on the receiving end of bad news, at which point they're going to immediately throw a tantrum, and we'll be talking again about it, but at least the court might survive.
Well, the thing that scares me, and you're right, they haven't decided on birthright. It's going to go one of two ways. They're either going to save the sovereignty of America, and probably you're going to have people threatening their lives, or they're going to sell out and allow the foreign nationals to come in, and Chinese tourism babies will continue, and in about 50 years, we'll all be speaking Mandarin.
Yes, hopefully will. All right, well, that's all I have, and just remember it tomorrow.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. Jim for the win. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody coming up the big hour. We have Jared Halprin. We have Victor Miller. Allegedly TPB. Good morning. With our friend Jared Halpern, who joins us from Fox News Radio. Big week for the White House. 4th of July, 250 years of America. Perhaps Jared will be on the Ferris wheel. We'll find out now. Jared, good morning.
Haven't made it there yet, but there's still a few days remaining. It's a busy travel week for the president, too. He's kind of really taking in this week, going to North Dakota to help unveil this new Teddy Roosevelt stuff, going to South Dakota later in the week for a big fireworks show. Obviously, the big fireworks and kind of full day of celebrations here on Saturday on the National Mall, a bunch of flyovers. So it's going to be a busy week for President Trump. Hopefully he gets a little bit of rest because first thing next week, he's supposed to go to Turkey for the NATO summit. So a big week of celebrating here before sort of back to the job and going abroad.
Boy, I guess I'm going to ask you this. We'll get to the Supreme Court in a second, but the scene in D.C., is there anything like it on the 4th, the week of the 4th?
It's nice. I mean, I've been here for a lot of them. The fireworks show is obviously always spectacular. I think it's supposed to be much, much larger this time around. I've never been here for like a major anniversary. Obviously, 1976 was a bit before my time. So here we are now for 250. And I think we're expecting huge crowds. I think we are expecting just a lot of energy. There's a lot going into it, a lot of security, as you can imagine, going into it. And it'll be interesting to see, how President Trump kind of responds to all of that. This big speech on Saturday has raised some questions. I mean, President speaking on the 4th of July, this is kind of being billed as kind of a big Trump-like rally. And so you've seen some Democrats kind of question how political this event might be, given that it's a national celebration. But let's see kind of what it looks like, what it sounds like. And, I'm always excited to see the flyovers. The military bands are the best in the world. And so I think it'll be a good event for everybody.
Yeah, but will it be a good for the Iranians and the ceasefire?
Ceasefire is very much in doubt. We saw, obviously, Iran fire at commercial ships in Bahrain late last week, and over the weekend, the U.S. responding with military strikes of its own. We are told that now both sides have agreed to kind of down gear everything. There are supposed to be direct talks between the U.S. and Iran tomorrow in Doha to try and get this ceasefire, this memorandum of understanding back on track. But it is going to continue to raise questions about the stability, about how fragile this ceasefire is, and whether or not a final nuclear agreement can ever be reached, given that, Iran hasn't really abided by even this ceasefire, this memorandum of understanding. Both sides kind of talk about what's expected of the other differently. And so I think tomorrow will be a significant sit-down between the U.S. and Iranian delegations to see if they can get this back on track and continue to move forward with the broader, much more technical nuclear negotiations that are expected to happen over the next, 55 days or so.
Of course, a lot riding on this. And, Jared, we've got the midterms coming up.
Yeah, and I think that, a lot of what you hear from candidates is kind of, what's Iran's main impact going to be. Obviously, the economy, inflation, all of that was driven up by the Iran strikes. We have seen the price of oil, the price of gas really come down considerably since this ceasefire was in place. But if that ceasefire goes back to the way it was and is not enforced, and ships are no longer transiting the strait, and it goes back to more of an open warfare, and you see everything shut down again, that would not be great for the economy. That would not be great for inflation, for the cost of living, all of those things that are going to be primary factors in folks going to the ballot box this November. I mean, the economy is going to be issue 1, 2, and 3. And we've seen, certainly this calendar year, President Trump's approval rating really struggle with voters who have the economy top of mind. And so the challenge for Republicans out there on the trail is going to be kind of putting forward their message about why things are getting better, will get better, what their plans are. You're going to see some really embrace the president, others probably try and find some distance. The challenge for Democrats is going to be the success of all of these Democratic socialists that we've seen in New York. A big primary election tomorrow in Colorado is going to be kind of the first big test about whether or not these Democratic socialist candidates can break out in kind of a more suburban or less kind of deep blue, kind of a Acela line liberal bastion, right? This is Denver, Colorado, a blue city, but certainly not how you think about, New York City and Brooklyn and all of that. And that's going to be a challenge for Democrats because, there are a lot of Democrats that are trying to run very moderate campaigns and very kind of focused on these issues of the economy and don't want this to become an issue about socialism or communism or the war in Gaza or any of those things. And so both parties are kind of wrestling with their own messaging at the moment.
Jared, anything else you'd like to add, sir?
No, I think the big issue this week is certainly going to be obviously beyond the 4th of July, what's happening with Iran. So stay tuned.
Jared, thank you, sir.
Sure thing.
Our great friend Jared Halpern, live from the White House, Fox News Radio. We go to another great friend, a friend of radio, a friend of broadcasting, a friend of the Republic, Victor Miller, joining us with the very latest on the weed, people. The weed. And Victor, you could be doing other things. You could be enjoying your great life. But here you are. You continue to dedicate yourself to public service, to saving Idaho. And we thank you for that, sir. Good morning.
Well, I have to thank you, Kevin, this morning because, if nothing doesn't show the power of the Kevin Miller Show and the KIDO and local radio, nothing does. I have some good news to report. Now, remember, you were the first one to let us break on KIDO the fact that the Idaho Medical Cannabis Act was just terrible, right? No doctors, anyone could get it. You'd get a quarter pound of weed and 2,000 ingestibles a month. And we would be running a seed-to-sale operation run by the state of Idaho. You were the first one to allow us go on air and break the story about the donor, a hemp farmer who put $3.15 million into buying signatures to basically allow him to get one of the Idaho medical cannabis licenses. You were the one who let me come on the show and expose the fact that a lot of the signature gatherers had no idea what they were actually selling. Then I interviewed them for an hour, and only one of them was able to answer one question correctly, and how we shouldn't be changing our laws this way. Well, you took a huge step personally too, Kevin, because you went out and have been talking out against the marijuana industry and how we don't want marijuana here in Idaho. Well, here's the latest, and this is extremely good news. The clerks have until tomorrow to certify their legislative districts and their county results. But as of right now, Kevin, they are 13,000 signatures short of the 70,725 signatures they need to get this on the ballot. And additionally, remember, you also have to have 6% of registered voters in 18 different legislative districts. They are also, as of right now, 6 legislative districts short of that mark. So there is a chance that the Idaho Medical Cannabis Act, brought to you by the Natural Medicine Alliance of Idaho, will fail on both the signature level and the legislative district level. And a lot of that, Kevin, is your show and the education you did, because the big star of the show is Ada County. Ada County did legislative district 14, 20, 21, 22, 23 all fell short of the 6% mark. And we have 15,000 less signatures for the pot initiative than we did the abortion initiative here in Ada County. And believe it or not, 45,000 people who signed the Idaho Medical Cannabis Act petition were unregistered voters. So if you don't understand the power of local radio, if you don't understand the power of a local show and the power of a local person like Kevin to really advance an issue that's critical to Idaho's future. Well, this was proof in the pudding, brother, and I can't thank you enough for your help. We'll find out by tomorrow. Everyone's supposed to certify. The Secretary of State will certify after that, but I'm feeling very, very optimistic that the Idaho Medical Cannabis Act will not be a part of the November 2026 ballot.
Well, Victor Miller, we can only emphasize the work that you did on your own. And I'm sure sometimes it seemed very tireless, very lonely. You're out there interviewing the weed people, and again, some stations covered it, some stations didn't, but we sure got a lot of pro-pop propaganda that you and your folks had to fight. So your thoughts on if this and when this fails, will we see another attempt, or will the legislature try to curb this once and for all?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, there is on the ballot is this November will be a decision you have to make about marijuana, and that was from House Joint Resolution 4. And what that said, Kevin, is basically they want to treat marijuana, narcotics, and psychoactive substances in a similar fashion to the way we deal with alcohol, where the legislature would have a say. Now, some people may say, oh, well, this is going to take away the rights of Idahoans. No, you have a right to vote on whether you want that to happen or not. But the bottom line is, if we're going to treat alcohol a certain way, and these things are potentially much more dangerous or as dangerous, do we want to allow the legislature to have a say? And that would mean basically that we would prevent the big pot money from coming in here and trying to buy access to Idaho. Secondly, an interesting development, a woman named Jackie Winters and a guy named Joe Evans, who were senior executives kind of at what was called Kind Idaho, which was an effort to legitimize the marijuana. They were kind of the grassroots of this initiative. They have announced, I think 2 weeks ago, that they are no longer going to be involved in this issue. So in a lot of ways, the grassroots effort that kind of drove the signature process has decided to walk away. So I would think that after spending $3.15 million, and if they come up short on both signatures and the legislative districts, and the fact that the news keeps coming out every day that marijuana is not the best thing for everyone, I would hope that this will be the final chapter. But as you know, in politics, things swing from side to side. But I would hope that the marijuana industry has finally had enough of trying to break Idaho, and Idaho will remain one of 4 states that have an absolute prohibition on marijuana.
Victor Miller, tell us a little bit about your show that you continue to do. And I know you had Lucy Willits on lately and a lot of other newsmakers.
Yeah, we have a little show, Kevin. It's called Here We Have Idaho, and it's on a Christian station, Christian news talk, and where there's a lot of preaching on it. And we enjoy it. We do it Wednesdays and Fridays at 4 p.m. And yes, we love to feature all things great about Idaho, the newsmakers in Idaho, and anything that affects Idaho. And we're just very grateful to be able to continue to work in radio, because it's a great medium, Kevin, as you know.
Well, and a lot of people don't know your past in radio.
Well, I was on Wall Street for 21 years. In the last 12 years, I was what they call an equity analyst. And an equity analyst is basically a person who tells you whether they like a industry or whether they like a particular stock in that industry. And I covered the local TV and radio broadcasting business. So a lot of the companies that are in town here, Sinclair and others, Scripps, I covered them as a stock analyst. So I did companies like Clear Channel, who you probably know, was the big dog, CBS
yes.
Radio. So So yeah, it was
a lot
fun.
of my former companies. Yeah, a lot of my former companies. I always like to know about the people that make things happen at 580 KIDO. I still remember meeting you when you came in to investigate moving to Idaho. I was one of the people that you met.
Well, also, you'll probably remember that at that point there was a gentleman named Bill Figgenshoe who was involved, I believe, in the company that year. He was a CBS executive who broke out to work at a smaller radio company, and he was one of the executives. And I got to come see you as part of due diligence too on just what was going on in the Boise market. And yeah, Bill sent me your way so that I could figure out what was going on and meet some of the local luminaries. And here we are 17 years later, and you're still there.
17 years later.
I'm still here.
Yeah. No, it was funny because, you know, the hierarchy of the management style at the old place, and some of those people are still here, but they go, there's this guy coming in from Wall Street. We're going to send him to you. I go, why are you sending him to me? And you and I came into the studio, same location. And it just amazed me that they trusted me with you. And I was going to give you an impression of what was going on. It was just fascinating how that worked.
We did have the same last name. Maybe that helped.
Yeah.
Like, who should we give the Miller guy to? Oh, we got a Miller too. Well, yeah, give him to him. But our friendship started from then and continues,
yes.
and I'm blessed by it, Kevin. I am, and Idaho's blessed by having you on the air every day.
Well, thank you, Victor. I have to hit you with one.
This is a perfect example of why local radio matters and your opinion matters, and allowing you to break news that a lot of people don't want to touch. So
which is why Victor.
And by the way, there's a team of people. By the way, it wasn't me. I'm not that alone. There was a team of probably 10 of us that worked on this together, and I have to give all of them a shout out too. We girded each other up in the tough times and kind of helped each other out. So I'm really appreciative.
Victor, a final thought, though. One thing that, and you are intimately involved in the pro-life community. What about the challenge to the pro-life law? That is going to be a big one that all of us will face.
Well, I think now that hopefully the clerks will affirm my thoughts on this on the initiative, the POT initiative. But then I'll turn my energies to help David Ripley and other good folks like that try to let people know that the abortion initiative as written right now is way too open-ended and would really dramatically change the culture here in Idaho. And it's not what Idahoans think. So we need to educate people and tell them what's really going to happen if this passes. And that'll be hopefully the next fight. So we will be on the front lines with David on that one.
Victor Miller, to be continued. Thank you very much for your time and your effort, your energy, sir.
God bless you, and thank you for KIDO, and thank you, Kevin, for getting involved in these tough issues and seeing the results from it, because your show obviously goes all over Ada County, and Ada County was the one that did not step up to sign a lot of POT petitions. So grateful for that. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Our great friend Victor Miller, Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580 KIDO. Big news from Victor Miller, breaking it down that perhaps we're looking at the end of the weed, and the end of the weed, once again, being legal in Idaho. And I want to thank that group, Victor's group, that took it upon themselves to find out who was behind this and really what money, what it would do to the state of Idaho. Now, on one hand, can Idaho, as Victor just said, one of 4 states that does not legalize the weed in any form, could Idaho somehow be the national example of how to really properly enforce medical marijuana? We have people that have told us again and again and again that they need medical marijuana, and there is a pill form. I know that because I have lawmakers that tell me there are pill forms of this that do the same thing. And we have people that go to Ontario, and this is a crisis that many of us, and I hope that we don't face, but as we get older or things happen, you call them the Greg Ferreira uh-ohs. They happen in life, like what happened over the weekend in Caldwell and Nampa, where they say 500 gallons of water being pumped out of Nampa. And that was for a storm that hit us for, 2 or 3 hours maybe at the most Saturday night. I couldn't believe, then we went live to the TV station. They're live at the Walmart. The roof caved in right next to the Papa Murphy's, but nobody's hurt. And then there's the Marine Fire Department squeegeeing everything out. Good for them. And you think to yourself, man, maybe I need a new roof on the house. And thank goodness that didn't happen to me. Then you had a man in Caldwell escaped his apartment because it flooded with a dog. I hope that, the guy had rental insurance and flood insurance and the landowner thing. And I'm sorry, because we live in such a great state that we're not ready for these massive Greg Ferreira uh-ohs, if you will, that can detrimentally impact people. It's bad enough when our car breaks down, but imagine living in the flood. So I hope and pray that we continue to have a great relationship of not having these natural disasters. Coming up on the KIDO Talk Radio website, we'll probably cover Eagles saying they're going to prosecute people that shoot fireworks off. They're not playing, and it doesn't seem like it because we're still recovering from the wetness, but we get those high temperatures, and it's fire season. It's open fire season. I think, again, the state has a problem, and you have people that work very hard in these fireworks stands that count on these fireworks stands to make a lot of money. And you'll have some people, which I still don't get it, that you have people at radio stations, and I'm not attacking them, they give out the fireworks. We don't give out fireworks because some of those fireworks, you have to sign an affidavit that you're not going to use them, and then you do that. And again, because I'm a nut about animals, please, please, please keep your pets inside. Don't lose your pets. Whether it's the West Valley Humane Society, the Idaho Humane Society, your Humane Society, my Humane Society, we really, really, really don't want to lose pets, and it is horrible for the pets. That's one of the good things about the wetness. It's going to be tough for people firing off fireworks right now, but they will. And in Utah, we have this on our website. They've banned them. The governor said no. Now, maybe we don't have that same situation, but when you talk about not regulating business and you let the fireworks people, blame them, they got to make a living. And then all of a sudden people act irresponsibly because that's what they've been taught to do, blow up things. When you have great cities like Star, Boise, Middleton. I had Nancy at Albertsons go, hey, Kevin Miller, I'm buying my little peppers that I get, semi-hot, very semi. And she goes, do you know where the Middleton fireworks are? No, I don't. But I'm sure Middleton has a great fireworks display. In fact, it's on our website where and when these things are happening throughout the Treasure Valley. So I hope and I pray that we have a wonderful, safe season. And coming up, back to what Victor Miller said, Ada County, much maligned, much hated, save the day if the weed thing goes down. So apparently people in Ada County don't want the weed, just like Kevin Miller. We win. Kevin Miller on your home for Fox News on the radio, 580 KIDO. Kevin Miller with you here, taking your calls about the issues that matter to you. Don't forget, this afternoon, our great friend, and he is great, Lars Larson. If you missed Lars Larson, you can catch him this afternoon beginning at 4. Or if you like our back and forth, you can always catch it on the KIDO Talk Radio website. I sound a little winded. Fighting a cold here from the Boise Music Festival. It was a very challenging day. So incredible acts, wonderful people. I want to thank my man Shane. Met Shane and his family, and it was just a wonderful experience. What was wonderful about it? The weather. First it rained, as you can tell how I'm sounding, and then after it rained, it got a little better. But it was just one of those one of those crazy, crazy days. So if you were one of our crazies, thank you very much. Eric as well. Ray Jr. It was a great time. Let's go back to a topic that we were talking about, the Trump tariffs. And now the Europeans are thinking they need the tariffs as well to protect them from the invasion of the Chinese cars.
I'm really reluctant to be where I am right now, but I do think that conditional tariffs on Chinese cars are probably going to be necessary. I don't think that the Europeans can allow their auto industry to be totally hollowed out. Now, there's some compromise here. You're probably totally trying to shut Chinese cars out of the market is going to be a bad thing, be very costly to consumers. But on the other hand, I've been shocked not only by my own change of mind, but by some of my colleagues, people who are longtime advocates of globalization and free trade, who are saying, okay, Europe needs to do some, really, if you like, it's national security, it's market disruption, to just allow something as big as the European auto industry to just be overrun, even if consumers would benefit for a while. It's not 20 years ago anymore. We really do need to rethink, which is a long way from saying that we should have tariffs on everything or that the Europeans should have tariffs on everything, but a much more interventionist position has become really hard to avoid.
Yeah, so here we have it. Paul Krugman, noted economist, noted critic of everything conservative, saying that tariffs are necessary because of the big bad Chinese cars and electric vehicles. Do you know the story of Adolf Hitler's rise to power? And those people, and one of the things I studied in school, and a lot of people study by watching the History Channel or the shows on whatever streaming platform you get about the rise of Adolf Hitler. And you don't have to read Mein Kampf. You don't have to read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, although I'd recommend it, to understand Hitler. And that Hitler, and people were shocked how Hitler rose to power. Hitler did not take power, although there were beatings in the streets, there were gangs. There were the gangs of the Bolsheviks, the brown shirts, the red shirts, all sorts of other shirts. But they elected him to power. And as I have urged and argued and pleaded, we are at a point now where many Americans, and you heard Lars Larson talking about this, they don't love America. And because they're not indoctrinated even by the loons, they're indoctrinated by the Chinese through TikTok. They're indoctrinated by other social media algorithms designed to turn them against the nation that has given them this unprecedented freedom that mankind has never received before, perhaps never will again. And just like in New York, they're voting for the Democratic Socialist. Could we, in fact, dear friend, see people voting to elect people that are going to take away their powers, take away their freedoms, take away their liberties, take away their very essence of being an American? That's what we face. And our business, another great book that I highly recommend, and no, I'm not Al from Ontario giving you these highfalutin books. And by the way, Al gave me this book, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Martyr, Prophet, Spy. Or maybe this was Ray who gave this to me. Not Patriot Ray, not Ray Jr., but another mysterious Ray that never wants to go on but always shows up at our facilities. A long book of over, let's see, 300 pages, but it's not like real, it's like big, 500, 600 pages of this Bonhoeffer guy. I don't know who Bonhoeffer is, but apparently Pastor, Martyr, Prophet, Spy. Written by this guy who used to be on talk radio, Eric Matat. Apparently, I think he was on in Twin Falls. Let's see. But the point being that our business has always been about America. And sadly, we have people that have checked out of the America business. You know, I look at my grandfather. I've got a caricature, a portrait of him, Frank Miller. And the America he grew up in is very different from the America that I've grown up in as a grandfather now. And in America, his America, you didn't buy anything foreign. And that's right, I say foreign. You don't buy the foreign stuff. You buy America. And then the American corporations decided through we'll stick to cars, started talking about cutting costs, just sticking it to the consumer. Again, the book that I didn't get around to the title of The End of Detroit, one of the best books you can ever read about the rise and fall, and perhaps rise again of the American Automobile Association, automobile makers. When Lee Iacocca begged President Reagan to save the American car manufacturers because the Japanese built a better product, he slapped tariffs on the Japanese, and then the American car people still raised the prices, not undercutting the Japanese. Stupid. When the Ford Taurus was the best-selling model in America, what did they do? They, I can't even use the phrase, but they just prostituted it out to everything and didn't continue to innovate it. They made it too available, and then it wasn't special. Or the Mercury Sable. Remember Mercury? Ford Mercury? Lincoln, Ford Mercury Lincoln, something like that. Lincoln Ford Mercury. Now Mercury doesn't exist anymore. So we do it to ourselves, but now we have the threat, the Death Star of cars, BYD in China. The Wall Street Journal was first to alert us of this years and years and years ago. And now they're trying to get in through Canada. They're trying to get in through Mexico. And what was our man Jeff Manasso, the car guy, going, hey, man, these cars are sick, insane. They challenge and maybe are superior to Tesla. But if they come in, it's the end of our manufacturing base. I'll explain next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. The app is exploding with Clay and Buck people. Hey, don't forget about me. We're all insecure. We're all either overly confident or overly insecure. We go to Lee Joe, who joins us now at 580 KIDO. Hello, Lee Joe.
Hey, good morning. First off, Boise Music Festival. I took the grandkids down there. Turns out the 7-year-old and the 10-year-old were just massive fans of Marshmello. Who knew? But the actual production, what you guys did down there was awesome. Some of the bands kind of took some cuts off other songs that had some swearing in them and stuff like that, and you guys just did like you do on regular radio, just cut the bad words out. It was great, family friendly stuff, and there's a trend to try and get the bad words in, and my hat's off to you guys for taking the time and doing the edit that needed done on those concerts, and we had a blast. Those kids, those grandkids of mine were just raving around, and Grandpa was too, and it was good. So I appreciate that. Your conversation with Lars on Fauci and what have you. Do you remember in the late 80s we started getting this fancy new medical procedure called bypass surgery for heart attacks? And it seemed like we'd kind of solved heart attacks for years and years. And then along comes 2020 and people start getting this quote unquote vaccine,
AFib.
and the vaccine gets AFib and causes clotting in veins. And now, even recently, a gal I know, and I don't know if the mayor of Caldwell got the shot or not, but nobody drops dead at 49 years old from a heart attack in up to 2020. It's you can get to the hospital. They can get you on the bypass machine, and stuff. And we get the bypasses done. But why is sudden heart attack fatal again? It's because the clot shot has done irreparable damage to hearts, and the research is out. The autopsies are out. It's Fauci's gain of function and doing all this stuff. The great bureaucracy of the United States just offshoring everything it wants to do and bypassing presidents and the will of the people. We live in the post-constitutional society of bureaucrats, and the PCSOBs are, taking over everything. And a Supreme Court decision, let's just let the ballots roll until the Democrats win. Sounds like a great idea to me. Why not?
Well, I was going to talk to this with Lars, but we've made the truth political. And maybe it always has been. Like, Watergate was the worst thing ever. Clinton Gate wasn't. So you take a look at that and you think, well, for the good of the country, shouldn't we find out? Like, for the good of the country, should we not find out whether or not people were, as they call it, vaccine injured? For the good of the country, because maybe they were. Then we should know. Then people should have credibility. Maybe they weren't, and then we would know. Like when the Challenger and the Columbia went down, we wanted the truth. But when you get a pardon, when you get, no transparency, and we're burning everything before the new administration comes in, it makes you wonder. And then you think, well, how much money was made? And do these people have enough stroke that we'll never, ever know?
And the anecdotal evidence is that 100% what you see in the media is irrelevant to the truth. We have this, the doctors came out, the pharmacy companies came out, it's all safe, effective. Meanwhile, like back during COVID, I gave 24 regular gas masks with cartridges to say now. They didn't use them.
But here's the other problem with this. When we're talking about getting to the truth, I do believe in this country that people have been killed because they got too close. I'm working with someone. And, it's funny. I have people coming up to me all the time pitching me stuff. And I go, hey, this is great, but we live in Idaho. It's unregulated for a reason. And we have people that are dependent on me keeping this thing afloat. That's not a cover-up. It's just not my job. However, you have and I said to somebody, I go, you need to watch Kill the Messenger about Gary Webb of the San Jose Mercury News and what happened when he exposed everything. It didn't end well for him. You have whistleblowers. Look at a lot of these people that, whether it's totalitarianism on the left or the right, it happens. And when you become a threat, you're out. And there are a lot of people, and let me just say this, there are a lot of people in, turning the state into a technological hub that are not concerned about Farmer, God rest his soul, Farmer John, or other people that are looking to make a lot of money on mining that aren't worried about your groundwater, bro.
I agree. And to be vocal about things involving massive amounts of money and like I say, under the Constitution, that wouldn't have been a big deal. But where justice and money are completely divorced from each other, here we sit, and the rulings coming out of the courts depend on money, and your life is in danger. Look at Ammon Bundy. Look at many other people. Even the Supreme Court ruling against Trump on this defamation against the whatever she was, the crazy woman. How did she get $22 million in damages because he tweeted? She didn't. It's all out of control. It's all
but
gone.
And let me talk to you about, and look, Mr. Bundy took on one fight too many, as you and I have discussed. Number one. Number two, we go to Lavoy Finicum, and one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was not again, when you're around stuff all the time, you get highly cynical. And I know the Bundys. I've covered them and everything. I was going to go talk to Ryan. I'm next to Lavoy Finicum. I probably should have got his number, but all I saw was a guy that was on the phone all the time. And there is a responsibility in law enforcement. And I apologize to your beloved police departments. I know you don't like them, but I do. Or you and I disagree to disagree. I don't want to label you. But I apologize in advance for saying there should have been restraint with Lavoy, and people get hot and people go. And the video and the shootings, they were shooting at these people. And we've seen the video, and pardon my French, not a damn thing has ever been done about that investigation either. Think about that for a moment. We have the video of Ryan, the girl, Lavoy, and the bullets are firing upon him. Lavoy gets out of his car in some remote, desolate place in Oregon. And he, again, should he have not been reaching for anything, or they said he was reaching for anything? I remember seeing him with his hands up, and they killed him. And those people got an award for it.
Yeah, and they quashed the malfeasance investigation. And this is what is always happening. The narrative that the police departments or the justice departments give is the only narrative that's allowed to exist. And it has its own political
here's one.
Purpose.
Where's the ACLU on these cases?
Well, that they killed a conservative. So what's the ACLU going to do? They're going to
right. No, but I mean, but aren't they supposed to support everybody? Oh, I guess not.
Well, that originally, way back, there was some thought of that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like everything else. Money turned it all into a garbage show, and money buys the courts, and money buys the media, and you know, money has ended the Constitution, and here we sit talking about it at personal threat of our own well-being in the end.
You are correct. So, Lee Joe, thank you for the call. We go to TPB, who joins us now. TPB was not at Boise Music Festival. Maybe we can book him for it next year. Good morning, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I doubt seriously you're going to get me down there either in the rain or the very hot weather. It's not my game, my friend. But I do appreciate the invitation. And I assure you, many of my friends did go down and had a great time at the event, even with the rain.
That's what they call you. Well, you know, you need to clear that out before. This is a big-time operation, you know. This is an award-winning operation, and we don't like the coughing, so how dare you?
Yeah. Well, are you broadcasting from home today?
Well, what's that have to do with anything?
Oh, big-time operation.
Yeah, I mean, so does Lars Larson. Your point?
It's because you have electricity at your house. You don't need a generator, right?
No, I have a generator. I do. I bit the bullet and got a generator.
Ah, you took my advice, I see. Good boy. I want to talk today a little bit about what's going on in America. And I think too many Americans are concerned we're moving toward socialism, but I don't believe that's the case. And I did some extensive studies using AI to prove my point. And after
AI. Why don't you use your point? Why don't you do it yourself?
By the way, you should try it sometime. It's quite enlightening.
Oh, yeah. It's leftist as well, too, by the way.
Nothing new for Kevin. Let's do it the old-fashioned way, right? Come on, Kevin, say yes.
I don't know why you're getting angry. You know, Nancy Albertson says, what's with that Tea Party Bob guy? Why is he always beating you up? And I go, I don't know why.
I'm just doing that old back and forth you like so much.
Apparently, man, you know, Nancy's very concerned. She goes, I used to like him, but he's beating you up. I go, I know, he picks on me.
I know. Can I continue, or are you going to continue?
Well, you're the one provoking me. I'm just trying to be good. You're the one going,
You like the interaction. I know you. You know, after Mamdani won a New York City mayoral race, everyone was in shock. But, you know, this was more of a generational lean towards redistribution, as a quarter of the city's voters and 40% of those under 30 identified as Democratic Socialists. So showing a real generational lean in that city. But when you look at the right side of the ledger, Trump won the presidency twice. And even the second time with a popular vote, as young men moved his way while women moved to the left, showing a gender gap. And it was the Latinos and the immigrant voters who shifted to Trump in 24. You know, that is not a country moving in one direction. It's a country pulling apart along new lines. And there is no clean national trend towards socialism. While the leftward movement like New York City is real, it's concentrated by the young urbanites who are renting, while during the same period, the right had major victories pulling young men and immigrants toward their end of the spectrum. So our country is polarizing along age, sex, and density more than it's sliding along a single left-right track. So I looked at three possible reasons for the shift, but I could not pin down any definitive one. The first was immigration itself, which pushes the left. More important, it shifts congressional seats toward high immigration states, changing the number of candidates that we can vote for. I looked at education as the culprit, looking at school-sponsored prayer that was removed by the Supreme Court, which is getting more liberal by the day, in my opinion, in the 60s, while civics and history were deprioritized. And the Bible was taken out of the school. We see some of that changing again. And we see many of the teachers, they lean left, especially at the elitist institutions. And the third theory was the media, both social and traditional. And even here, the information environment really is one of the drivers of polarization, as surveys for decades found newsrooms are leaning left. And one count put Republicans at just 7% of journalists. Just look at NPR and how they were skewed. But the direction of the strongest documented effect is actually the reverse of the popular.
How they were skewed, they still are skewed.
Yes, they haven't changed very much. And NPR is supposed to be out of business, but it certainly hasn't gone anywhere, has it? You know, most of the media studies, they actually move voters. And Fox News, which moves voters to the right, had one major study, and it estimated Fox increased Republican vote share by convincing between 3 and 8% of non-Republican viewers to vote Republican. That's very unusual. You know, the liberals are dispersed among a lot of different outlets, and talk radio like KIDO and the podcast lean mostly to the right. The most important platform shift was Musk's purchase of X that pushed rightward. You know, and the one major concern we have is the social media platforms that were influenced by government agencies. And this was attested to by Zuckerberg about Meta and their removal of COVID content. So some important points to consider. The result in New York City, the most immigrant-dense Democratic place in America, is among the worst places to read a national trend. And for every leftward signal.
Oh, there, we're out of time. Sorry. Good day. God bless. Keep the faith. Kevin Miller loves you, including you, Tea Party Bob.
Tonight, you're planning on watching the ultimate soccer showdown. During the match, you'll probably drink vodka, which will lead to texting your ex and maybe dancing on the bar. You should be a little worried, but you aren't, because you're not going to do any of those things. Tonight, you're going to drink differently with RK, the world's first zero-proof spirit that tastes like the real thing. All the flavor, all the burn, none of the bad decisions. Drink differently and get some RK for the match at rkbeverages.com. Like the boys on the pitch, RK is redefining what alcohol-free can taste like. RK has been distilling alcohol-free spirits since 2011, and they deliver that familiar burn without the alcohol or the hangover. Drink differently and get some RK for the match at rkbeverages.com.